Hello, and welcome to the Dad Lab podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Matt.
I'm Andrew.
On this episode, we've got stories from the news desk. We are going to continue our review of the trilogy of the Mighty Ducks with the series finale, D3. We're going back to our Mount Rushmore segment with our discussion of the biggest NFL draft bust in NFL history. The NFL is back, so we're going to recap week 1 and look ahead to week 2. We've got everybody's favorite segment, 60 Seconds on Big Brother. And then we're going to get into what are we watching and what are we listening to. And so what have you been up to, man?
No, not much. Had the oven basically explode on us yesterday, which was a really bummer because we actually had chicken pot pies about to go in, which I don't get those often. It reminds me of like my childhood, like when my lazy mom would put one in. I know they cook for like an hour. So I was about to get off, told Claire to pop it in. She called me like 10 minutes later and said it basically had a bright orange glow emitting from it and then started smoking, and she freaked out and unplugged it. So we had bean and cheese burritos that we microwaved yesterday. So that was the highlight of my week, was a explosion happening in the oven. So we're going to have to try to get a new one, and just happens when you're older. You got to worry about shit like that.
Well, that's a bummer on two fronts. For one, you've got to get a new oven, and for two, pot pies in the oven are the only way to go. You can't microwave them because the microwave doesn't get that crust, crispy.
Yeah, because they take an hour in the oven,
Yeah.
so I couldn't imagine in the microwave. And I had my hopes set up because we do that HEB curbside delivery, which I highly recommend to anybody. I recommend HEB to anybody who's nearby an HEB, but the curbside, and I was like looking online, and I was like, I haven't had a chicken pot pie since 2004. And I added 2 to the cart, and then Claire just asked what sounded good. I was like, you already know I want that chicken pot pie, and just devastating to get that phone call. Like, it was almost like an animal died on me, like a pet died when I realized I wasn't going to have chicken pot pie, and instead it was semi-warm bean and cheese quesadillas.
That's a sad meal.
It is a sad meal because it was all leftovers from like the days before. It was like leftover beans. I had some queso from the Sunday night Cowboy game on Thursday. I heated up some queso and put it on there.
That's getting to sketchy territory.
Yeah, it was borderline, but you make what you can, and so that was pretty devastating for me because, like I said, I was really looking forward to pot pies, and that just tells you how boring my life is when my intro is talking about my chicken pot pie sad story.
Well, if you think the frozen ones are good, make your own. Lauren makes homemade pot pie. Super easy to make, and they're just so much better. I mean, everything's better homemade.
Right.
But especially a pot pie. It's really good.
I got that pot roast recipe from y'all. I'm making that this Sunday for the Cowboy game.
Yeah, let me know how that turns out.
Yeah, family's coming over after the game because they're a bunch of chatty Cathys, and I'm not having that. So at about 3:30, they're all coming over, and should be a good time. I don't need to use my oven for that because I'm going to have to take the oven to the dump now and probably drop $500 on a new one. So that's unfortunate, but that's how my week went, man. Just working, and house nearly caught on fire. And no chicken pot pie, of course.
That's the biggest bummer.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about the house as long as I can eat a pot
I got
pie
insurance
while it
on
burns.
the house.
Yeah, just let me enjoy that as it burns down.
Well, I guess my week is, when you compare it to that, went a little better. Went down to Galveston, took a little Saturday, Sunday, Monday trip down to Galveston with Lauren and the boy and her mom and her brother and their 3 kids. So it was a nice little getaway. We love Galveston. I know a lot of people kind of bag on Galveston.
That's where we always went growing up.
I mean, it's a short drive. I mean, 4-hour drive, 4 hours, 15 minutes, and you're there. And we love this. We just love the town of Galveston. Like, it's got so much history down there on the Strand. You got all the shops and stuff, and you can see, you walk in some buildings, it shows like where the water levels were, during certain hurricanes and stuff. And, we've been going there for 5 or 6 years now, and we just kind of know all the spots, like all the restaurants. So I ate a bunch of seafood. I love po' boys, so I ate a couple po' boys and drank a few beers, and it was a good little weekend getaway to relax. And it was fun seeing the boy and his cousins, play in the ocean and play in the pool, and it was nice just to sit there and drink a cold beer next to the pool and just relax and get away for a little bit. But it was good to get home too at the same time.
Yeah, it's always good that first night back in your bed.
Yeah.
But I could imagine We went to Galveston last year, and I remember for some reason I was texting you because we went to Jimmy John's, and I hate Jimmy John's, and you just compounded that. Like, you're at Galveston where all that seafood is, and you're eating Jimmy John's. Like, what are you doing? And I just felt like such an idiot for even telling you that. I was like, he's 100% right. First of all, Jimmy John's sucks, and I'm in a seafood town, and I actually like seafood, and for some reason, I don't know why, I was like texting you, like, yeah, I'm getting Jimmy John's right now. And you're like, what are you doing right now, man? You should throw that away and go get seafood. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I just shamefully closed my phone down after you said that.
Well, the next time you go, let me know and I'll give you all the recommendations.
Yeah, because we usually go to I remember last time we went to Rainforest Cafe, but that was because our Elizabeth really liked that. She liked that experience.
That's the only reason why you should ever go to Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah, because the food was it's like $20 a plate for $4 worth of deliciousness. It was like $50 for us three, and I was like, it was a cool experience because there's only like 4 other people in there. It seemed like when we went, so I just carried around the whole place. We interacted with all that, but it was a good experience. I'm sure she'll want to go back later in life, but I'm in no rush to go back.
Yeah,
it seems like when I was a kid, it was really cool, but then you go back as an adult, and you're like, yeah, this is just overpriced, stuffed animals and overpriced
for
pasta.
sure. It's one of those things that you do for your kids.
Yeah,
we took Landry there. They've got that one up in Grapevine at Grapevine Mills. We've taken them there. But yeah, if you ever need recommendations down in Galveston, let me know because I know several spots.
I do.
But we branched out this time because my brother-in-law's wife, she can't really do seafood. So we ate Mexican one night. So we found a really good Mexican spot there on the island, and then we did pizza because it was one of the niece's birthdays on Sunday, so she wanted pizza, and it actually turned out to be really good pizza. But those first 2 nights, I got my fill of seafood, so I was happy.
How do you not get seafood when you're down there, though? I mean,
well, it's right there.
Unless you have some kind of allergen to it.
Yeah.
It just seems like just so wrong. Just to at least get something.
Yeah, and it's all caught right there, and it just. I know it sounds silly, but it tastes different than, unless you're eating high-end up here in Dallas. Like, if you're at a high-end seafood place, yeah, that's one thing because they probably get their stuff flown in daily. But it just tastes different when you're down there. And I don't know if that's like a placebo effect in your mind, because you're there by the sea, so you just expect it to be, I don't know. But it tastes better. It's so much fresher. It's just, we love Galveston. It's always a good time. It's a quick trip. It's a cheap trip because it's the weekend after, what was it, Labor Day?
Yeah, Labor Day.
So that's when their busy season officially ends.
Yeah, so definitely go the week after Labor Day.
So all the hotel prices went way down. We usually go in October, which I like better because
it still feels pretty good out too.
It still feels pretty good.
It's gonna be damn near 80 anyways.
Yeah, and it's less crowded. It was still pretty damn crowded. And I think we're the same, if I don't have to be around people, if I can go and there's a less crowded time, that's when I want to go.
Absolutely.
In October, it's way less people.
We went in February.
Oh, perfect.
Because it was actually my daughter's birthday, and we just drove down there for that. So there was nobody there, and that was great.
Yeah, and we were, Friday, Saturday, there was 30, 45-minute, hour waits at all the restaurants. And when you go a little bit later, there's none of that. You walk right in. But it was still good. And then, so yeah, we did that. And then, I've just been working. And then for some odd reason, I decided to apply for grad school this week.
There you go.
I don't know why. I guess.
Hey, knowledge is gangster.
I'm weird. I like school. And at school, I don't want to say it's easy, but especially college, all it is work. How hard do you want to work?
How bad do you want it?
It's not a smarts thing because I'm not a very smart person, as people who listen to this podcast could probably tell you. But it's how bad do you, like you said, how bad do you want it? It's, and I'm doing it obviously for, opportunities, career-wise, and it'll open up more doors, and I just want to see if I can do it. But yeah, I applied to grad school this week, so knock on wood and cross your fingers, and hopefully, we'll hear something back. I know I've got the grades to get in. It just depends on how competitive this MBA program.
Might be a good time to do it too.
I think so, because I don't know, with the pandemic, how that's affecting enrollment for all these colleges. I don't know. But hopefully, cross our fingers and, we'll see what happens. But Well, before we get further into the show, I just want to remind you guys to, if you haven't done it yet, please rate and review us on iTunes. While we're trying to grow this thing, these early reviews and ratings really help us, try to get our name out there and try to get the podcast out there. And follow us on social media. It's we're at thedadlabpod on Twitter and Instagram. And then if you have any questions or any comments, you can email us at thedadlabpod@gmail.com. And we want to thank everybody because we actually surpassed our first 100 downloads. So thank you to all you guys that have been listening and downloading and sharing it for us. So we hit 100 downloads in 3 episodes, which I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's bad.
Sounds good to me.
I thought it was cool. I think we're sitting somewhere around 110 or so right now. So
it's 100 more than I thought we'd get. So
right.
Far, so.
Well, I figured we'd get like 5 from my friends and family,
yeah.
But
my wife hasn't listened to it. Nobody I know.
Lauren, the only way
my brother-in-law, sisters, no.
The only way Lauren listens is if because I usually do editing in bed. And that's the only way she listens is like when she's laying, when we're in bed and she hears me, editing, but she doesn't listen.
No.
But she does share it and retweets it and shares it on Instagram.
Yeah, I
so
appreciate that.
That all helps. So let's move on to the news desk. And this week's story is a dad story. The headline reads, Ohio dad invents a candy chute for touch-free trick-or-treating. So this comes out of Cincinnati, and the story reads, Andrew Beatty of Cincinnati said he and his 6-year-old daughter came up with the candy chute as a means of dispensing Halloween candy while social distancing and keeping the potential spread of germs to a minimum. So basically what he did is he took a tube from an Amazon package. It's 6 foot long, and he spray painted it orange, and he added some black tape to give it
Bengals.
for the Bengals too. And he wrapped it in kind of black tape, and he fixed it to the railing of the steps leading up to his house. So he said it's going to be a completely touch-free experience. He's got instructions for the kids down below where to place their bags. He's going to be wearing a mask while he's handing it out. And he's going to be wearing gloves and switching his gloves out, frequently. And it's a way, because L.A. canceled Halloween.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think more cities in California are following it.
They're dealing with the hellacious fire right
now.
So
I know
there's probably the last thing on their mind.
I know they've got, other stuff going on, but
yeah.
But, for kids, a lot of kids don't understand Halloween being canceled due to a pandemic. So I just thought it was cool that this dad is going to this length, to continue the.
Yeah, it's a good solution to the problem, especially like locally. And we saw in the story how he shared it on Facebook, and it was getting all this. He sent out instructions on how to do it and step by step, so other people could do it. If you have because we have a little handrail at our. There's a 3-step up on our porch, because I was just thinking about, rifling those fuckers into those kids' chests like a little Snickers bar. My backup plan was just yeeting them right at them.
That's more than I would have done. I would have got the T-shirt cannon,
or just turn all my lights off and tell them to not come over.
Yeah, last year we put our lights on and nobody came, and I was like, cool, first year, kind of living in kind of a neighborhood.
Yeah, you kind of at least want to get a feel for it.
But no, we didn't get a one. I put an orange light up in the porch.
Just thought your house was too creepy.
I guess. But nobody came. I guess and more people are moving towards the trunk or treats where they're going to a community center and they're doing that, or to a church parking lot, and everybody they walk around and everybody's got their trunks open. Lame. I don't see near as many kids walking around. When we were coming up.
My dad would load up a trailer, and we'd all jump on the back, and we'd all jump in the back and drive around this neighborhood from neighborhood, all 10 of us, just filling up our bags.
I don't see it as much. I don't know if that's a safety thing. I don't know if that's just a sign of the times thing. But
I think it's more of a sign of the times. Because now, it would be my dad would drive all of us around, and now you see 2 adults for every 1 kid walking around.
Yeah, I know last year we didn't walk, and it was more of an age thing, but because he was 4 last year, we walked around the square because they do the
Yeah.
trick or treat on the square, and you know, for a 5-year-old, that's good. But I mean, when I was coming up, I look forward to Halloween.
Oh yeah.
I remember walking everywhere,
Yeah, you'd walk miles. By the end of the night, you'd be back.
tired.
Yeah, tired. Eat like a couple pieces and then save the rest.
It was awesome when you found that house that was giving out full size candy bars.
Not in my neighborhood.
No, I had to go down to Ovilla.
Yeah, I'd say like
I knew a neighborhood over there. They were
you
giving
knew the
out
hot
a
spots.
couple
You case
houses.
them out like
Yeah.
weeks before.
No, you just kind of remember from the year before. You
Word
always
gets around. There's no social media. It's all word of mouth.
Yeah, you'd be talking about it in school. There'd be that one dick that's giving out like toothbrushes and like raisins.
Yeah, he got eggs at the end of the night.
Yeah, he did. I never wanted to be that house. I had good candy last year too. I had good candy. I mean, I had to eat it.
I had to.
I
right?
had to.
I had no choice.
I mean, nobody came and got it.
I don't.
But-
I remember last year we took her around to the next street over, and then there, on Harbin over here, there's that guy. He's like a exotic animal controller, and he was just like the king of the neighborhood because he put on a fucking show with all his animals. You know, everyone's out there like he had a petting zoo going on. He had like handing out snakes to people, and pretty much all the action was down there. I mean, there had to have been hundreds of people going up and down the street next to us. So we were like, all right, well, I'm not going down there with all those people. So we turned around and walked back, and, you know, because Elizabeth was 2 at the time.
Yeah.
She was just, you know, we gave her some candy. We got enough just to fill up her bag, and we were like, all right, that's it. Let's come back home. And we handed out a little bit, but you're right. It wasn't nearly as much because all the action was either somewhere else or people just weren't going out.
I figured your neighborhood would be great because
Yeah,
you've
you'd
got
think
like
so.
several streets lined, you know, in a row.
Yeah.
And they're long streets. I figured, you know, over
That's
here.
what we thought, just up and down the streets.
Yeah.
But it was like people, like you said, people knew the hot spots, and they were just hitting up certain houses. And I guess we don't have that reputation yet, so which is fine with me. I'm not trying to talk to strangers. Even if I'm the stranger
You
and
don't
they're
have
the
to
kid,
talk
I
to
don't want
them.
to
You
talk
just,
to them.
hey,
No,
Hey,
I'd be
kids,
like,
here's some
hey,
candy.
I'm watching something. I'm
Hey,
watching a movie over here.
are you gonna be one of those people who just leave a ball outside when it's gone? It's gone.
When it's gone, it's gone. You know, if one kid hits the jackpot, God bless you, kid.
I'd be that dick kid that just picked up the ball and just dumped it in my bag.
I got a ring doorbell though, so I was at least like scold him as he ran away.
All right, but yeah, that was a cool story about a dad kind of
Just being a good dad.
being a good dad,
Being a good like neighborhood dad to all the other kids.
That's
you gotta
right.
think, which I hope inspires some others because it really is a good idea. Like a good
perfect idea.
for like, you know, to stay, you know, whatever distant and, you know, not touch and all that. So it was a great idea.
I still think like a candy cannon would work too, just
Slingshot.
blasting kids in the face. All right, so that brings us to our discussion on the last Mighty Ducks movie, D3. What did you think? Just real quick.
Just the D.
Just D3, yeah.
D3. I mean, it was good. It was more realistic. It was more realistic, I think, because they were older, so they were playing like more legit hockey, and they were like, the coach just seemed more like a coach than Bombay. You know, he actually gave them like life lessons and was teaching them like how to play, and I liked it more than the second one. Although the premise of the third one's a little silly because the stakes aren't as high. I feel like in the second one, if you're fighting like Iceland for the world tournament, and then the third one, it's like, hey, JV's gonna go up against varsity, and that's the whole premise is JV versus varsity. The stakes are a lot lower for the finale.
Yeah, I thought, based off me watching the trailer, I was way more impressed with it than what I thought I was going to be. I thought it was good. I think you're right. Like, it's weird to me that these people like pack the house for like a JV varsity like scrimmage. Like, I played high school athletics, like, and whenever we played the varsity or we played the JV, it wasn't. It was just like a
side
it was
note.
like a practice.
Yeah, this
Like-
was like life at
Yeah.
that academy.
Yeah. But there still was a ton of silliness going on.
Oh, there's always shenanigans. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You know, it's a
It's a
kids
Disney
movie.
hockey
It's a Disney
movie,
hockey
which-
movie.
The second one though, I feel like had a lot more shenanigans, which is annoying, like cheesy sound effects and just like wonky situations. Whereas
Yeah,
this one,
yeah.
it was a little more serious, I think,
Yeah.
because they're a little older. So I like that about it. I think if like since we've already done all three, I would say D1, D3, D2 in that order for me.
Okay.
The first one was the best, and then the third one was my second favorite. And the second one was just more silly. It had a good premise. I liked the whole world tournament in that one. I think that had a better like arc and finale than the third one, where the third one was like, we're gonna take on varsity and, you know, we're gonna beat you guys, and it's like, well, you can just take over varsity in 2 years when those guys are gone. And the World Tournament was like a big deal, so the stakes were higher. But the third one was just a better movie.
I think I may rank them in order, D1, 2, 3. Just because, I don't know, like, it's like they're like 14 or 15, and like Charlie is like still wrapped up into this whole like I'm a duck thing. Like, I think like somebody could like psychoanalyze this, and like this kid has like major issues because like his whole identity is wrapped up in like
where's his father figure,
Well, his dad, Gordon, we see Charlie's mom, she makes a return, still a fox.
She is still a
fox. So, but I don't know, I liked it, but it opens up with a montage of different moments from the first two movies. And it kind of opens up with a voiceover of Gordon Bombay introducing the Ducks to the school, and come to find out it's his alma mater. He went there. Yeah. I have written down Charlie's mom is back, still a fox. And then you kind of get the first look at the kids, and like you can tell how much they've matured from the first one to the second one.
Oh yeah, puberty hit.
Yeah, real hard. Yep. And then we kind of learn that Bombay isn't going to stay. He got another job offer to be like head personnel of like player management at the Goodwill Games, which is like the tournament from D2 that they were playing in. So
did it make you think though, like, because obviously it's just a movie, so did Emilio just not want to be a central part in this movie? Because it's almost like they wrote him out of that part to bring in Coach O'Ryan, because Emilio Estevez still could have been a draw and could have played this part. Do they just like be like, no, we're gonna go a separate direction?
I could have done the homework,
stiff arm, and
seen like if there was another movie that came out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like maybe he had a bigger movie that year, and the schedule just conflicted. So I was like, that's kind of weird that he's gonna be in this movie, but he's not gonna be the coach anymore. They're gonna go this separate way. I didn't know if they just thought that was a better plot point for the movie, or just he had something going on.
I don't think plot points were a big deal for these guys.
You're right.
Like,
they weren't talking about
I think it was probably just like a
that.
scheduling, or like, hey, we only have enough money for X amount of scenes with this guy, so I don't think plot point was at the forefront there.
Spoiler alert, Coach O'Ryan, great coach.
He was a good
coach, good guy, good dad.
And we'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get to it. But yeah, he ends up,
Because at first, I mean, we'll talk about it, but at first, I was like, this fucking guy's no Bombay. He doesn't get the duck mentality. He's never quacked in his life.
So Charlie's trying to plead Gordon to stay, and he's got.
You can't blame him though. It's like his dream job or equivalent to it. It's
a
like,
good job.
Yeah, I'm a little too old to be hanging out with you 14-year-olds now.
Yeah, and Charlie, he's upset, and so he storms off because that's what teenagers do. And then they're all walking through campus, and we get a Dallas Stars mention.
Oh yeah.
They're talking about Orion and how he left the North Stars because he punched out the coach, and I forget the kid's name, but the Hick. He's like, hey, don't you mean the Cowboy? He's like, hey, don't you mean Dallas Stars? So, and he was wearing a Dallas Stars jersey during one of the practices.
I might be wrong, but I think there was a reference in all three of them to the
Stars,
or the Stars. Because Madonna was in the first one, and then there's been like subtle references the whole way.
And then
there's a Pantera reference too.
There is.
Were you gonna get to that?
Yeah.
Stop. Yeah, my bad.
No, you're good. I actually took notes.
Like, I did too, but I was a little drunk. I think it was after the Stars lost to Vegas in like Game 2, and then I like bitterly thought I would just watch D3, and I was like scribbling all these notes, like probably not in the best mindset, and that was like a week or two ago. So
no, Matt's
gonna take over this segment for a while.
No, I just because I think I went back and listened, and there were several times where I was like, I should have done that homework, or I didn't do that homework, I didn't do that research, so I wanted to come prepared. Because I felt like I didn't do enough research for the cereal Mount Rushmore. Because you killed it with the the sales numbers.
I love cereal,
dude. I love cereal too, man. I had some honeycomb today.
Nice. That's your favorite.
That is my favorite.
I've learned that from last week.
I love it. But we meet the varsity, who is set up to be the villains or the bad guys in this movie. And then I saw a guy and he looked really familiar. And I guess I'm going to admit this. I'm a big Walking Dead fan. I've watched Walking Dead since season 2 live. So as it airs. So, and there was a young Michael Cudlitz who plays.
Who looked 32 at the time, and now only looks about 37. He ages so
and
weird.
he plays Abraham on The Walking Dead. If anybody watches that show,
Just imagine him how he looks now, but just take away like the handlebar mustache. He had
Yeah.
the same haircut. He got a little bigger, but he's still a big guy. I mean, it's just weird. 'Cause I saw that guy, and I'm like, yeah, I know that guy. He looks like he could be like in our fantasy league right now in this movie from 1994.
But it's one of those things where except for D1, the opposing team or the nemesis or the villains, they're just so much bigger. Like all those dudes on varsity, they didn't even look 17 or 18. They looked in their mid 20s. They were just so much bigger and faster, and they were more physically advanced.
So what you're saying is they're just a better hockey team.
They're better. Well,
We'll see about that.
We'll see about that. So we get another rollerblading scene montage when they're on the way to the school, and was rollerblading that big in the early to mid 90s?
It was a big deal, man. I remember a Bill Burr joke, just a side note, it says like, everybody thought rollerblading was so cool. Everyone had a pair until one guy made a gay joke about it, and then overnight, millions of pairs of rollerblades in the garbage. Because I used to skate all the time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think skateboarding became such a big deal, and that was like the cool sport, and because they're kind of like both like whatever you want to call it, extreme sports like X Games, like BMX, skateboarding, and skating. And if you were like Razor scooters, but come on, who does those anymore? But it's like, man, if you were like a blader, you're gonna get beat up so hard or made fun of so hard. So everyone's like, "No, I don't do that, man. I never bladed."
They used to call them fruit booters.
Yeah, remember those pairs of soap shoes? Like nobody could run and jump on a rail like that and grind it.
My mom would never let me get.
I got a pair, and it was the biggest regret. Those things weighed like 5 pounds, man. It sounded like tap shoes. Every step you took, they were clanking on the ground.
But look at your calves now.
Yeah,
though.
right, popping.
Yeah, she would never let me get soaps or Jinkos.
Oh, man, I wore the shit out of Jinkos. I tucked my chain wallet so deep in those pockets.
Mom would never let me get them, so I got some off-brand BS.
I was so fucking tough back then.
I forget what we called them, because he had like jocks, preps, like I think we called bangers.
Yeah, man, of course.
He's a banger.
I'd wear like my corn shirt, chain wallet, my ball chain necklace.
Ball stud necklace.
My chili bowl that I parted in the middle like that.
Yep.
Dude. You wouldn't want to fuck with that 4-eyed kid.
So yeah, we get the rollerblading scene when they're on the way to the assembly, and then we get a hilarious like fat guy physical comedy skating scene when Goldberg just loses control. He's just running downhill. He's skating away, and Charlie's chasing him, and he gets wrapped up in a hose, and he gets chased by a dog, and then he runs through a clothesline and gets a sheet over him.
So all that momentum carried him all that way too. Because I don't think he was like pumping those hips at all to go. He was all downhill. He just had his hands out. It was like Charlie.
It was all downhill, and so finally,
apparently all downhill, all momentum.
Yeah, and Charlie catches up to him. They fly and jump over like a 20-foot gap down.
Yeah, we saw that vertical from Charlie in D2, man. He's got that like 8-foot vertical.
And they meet up with the rest of the group. So they crash the assembly in typical hilarious Ducks fashion.
Just classic shenanigans, yep.
And that's how they're introduced to the school. At least the Ducks are. The rest of the cats they're sitting in the assembly all nice and proper. But yeah, so one thing I noticed is cancel culture was alive and well in the mid-90s, because that's how Charlie meets his little crush, is she's wanting everybody to sign a petition to change the school name of the Warriors.
Oh, yeah. That's where they talk about Pantera, I think.
Yeah. Shortly after that, they talk about, she says, "I don't like you," and he's like, "Well, you don't even know me," and he's like, "Do you like music?" And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you like Pantera?" She's like, "I love Pantera." So, yeah, but I just kind of thought that was funny that, with the almost said it.
Oh, don't you dare, dude.
The Washington football team changing their name. And we've talked about, the Cleveland Indians and stuff like that, that was even happening, in the early 90s. And Charlie's still holding on to this he's a Duck thing. Like I'd mentioned before, like his identity is wrapped up in his 9-year-old hockey team. And then did you notice the dude who played the goalie for the varsity? It's the same actor that played Gunnar Stahl from D2.
No way.
Yeah. And
from Iceland?
Yeah.
Transferred in.
And I wrote, was Gunnar Stahl an undercover agent?
Oh, shit.
Because now he's playing goalie.
Conspiracy theories
he was a skater, for Iceland. He was like their,
he
number
was
one
like
guy.
their best player on the ice.
Yeah, but now he's a goalie.
Probably
He's
better than
lost the
Goldberg.
accent.
Lost
He
the accent.
lost the accent. He still has a thing for Julie the Cat, though, because if you remember in D2, they kind of
they
they
had
shared
some
a moment.
chemistry. Yeah.
And then they shared another kind of little moment. So that kind of made me think, is he an undercover agent? Did he slip into this school to keep tabs on the Ducks, or what's going on here? But I'm surprised you didn't pick up on that. But yeah, Gunnar Stahl, the same actor, played in D3. He was the goalie for the varsity. So yeah, the Ducks go out for their first practice, and here we are again with this damn rope.
Yeah. And a bunch of yeehaws. Yeah.
So they're skating around and they're getting roped, and then of course Charlie gets roped and he lands right at the feet of Coach O'Ryan, and that's where we get introduced to Coach O'Ryan, and he is no nonsense. He is straight to the point.
Honestly, he's a good coach.
He's
what
a good coach. Yeah,
he doesn't let them just yeehaw and rope each other all day.
And he says some line to Charlie about what's that? Does that C on your chest stand for Charlie? Because you're not a captain. He takes away his captainship.
Dude.
Charlie gets smart back with him, makes him do laps. So you kind of could tell right there that this is not Coach Bombay. This isn't, District 5 hockey anymore. This guy means business.
Yep.
JV business. So yeah, he tells them that they're not Ducks anymore, and the one person that needs to hear it the most is not there to listen to it. He's skating laps around the rink. So they start practicing, and Goldberg still sucks.
Always.
He still sucks.
Why was he given a scholarship is what I want to know.
I have no clue.
Just a tag along, really.
And then a little bit later, you see Julie the Cat in the same practice, and she's stopping everything. She's stuffing everybody.
Just like she did in the World Championship.
But the coach warns them to stay away from the varsity until the JV varsity showdown. And then he posts positions, and people are not happy about the positions. Fulton makes a comment that he plays left side or vice versa. He's like, I'm a left side defender, not a right side defender. People aren't happy. Adam Banks makes varsity. So again,
the only one with skill, really. But
although Charlie, it seemed like his skill gap got way smaller. Seems like he was a lot better hockey-wise in this movie than he was in the first two. Because his nickname in the first one was Spazway. Because you just knew he was going to screw up in like an easy chance. But it seemed like in that first game, like he had like 4 goals.
Yeah. And
it seemed like at least the actor who was playing all the action scenes was a much better hockey player than Charlie wasn't in the past. And then let's see. So Julie beats out Goldberg.
Of course.
Charlie's not the captain. And then Hans makes his return.
Son of a bitch.
Hans makes his return. Still not a Nazi.
We don't know
I
yet.
have that written down. I have proof for you. I have proof for you a little bit later on.
I want to hear this.
So Charlie, just like, Gordon does back in the first movie, he goes to see Hans anytime, he's down or something bothering him, because he's kind of like a father figure for him, and Hans kind of tells him, just suck it up, and they need you. He's like, show Coach O'Ryan, the way.
The way of the Ducks.
And then they show, some school scenes of poor Kenny Woo's getting picked on and getting his lunch taken. And then Charlie, they show another practice scene, and Charlie's struggling with defending, because now that was Coach O'Ryan's big emphasis. Like, he wanted to play two-way hockey, and Charlie's struggling with that. Let's see. Averman, again, is trying to be class clown.
Classic Averman.
Coach isn't falling for it. And then we get that scene where Charlie's trying to get his Mac on with, and I didn't even get her name.
Pantera fan.
Pantera fan. We find out that they both share a love of Pantera, which is not weird.
Understandable.
It's weird for her, because she looked real buttoned up and preppy, and
yeah, she's getting petitions signed to stop the warrior name.
Yeah,
and it's like, hey, you like Pantera? Yeah, I like Pantera.
It's just kind of weird, but again, plot.
It's just weird that was the reference. I mean, I'm actually kind of proud of Disney for putting that in, because they could have said something cheesy like, hey, you like Stone Temple Pilots. That's still like a decent band. Like, yeah, I like them. But Pantera's like, hell yeah, I like Pantera.
Right.
That was awesome.
So,
I was proud of that.
Then we get into the first game, and it's a domination. Before the game, they're in the huddle and they start quacking, and Coach O'Ryan shuts that shit down. He's like, "What are you doing? I've already been over this.
Fools.
We're not ducks." The knuckle puck kills somebody. Like, Nate Tyler winds up for the knuckle puck, hits the goalie in the head, and he just collapses. So I'm pretty sure he killed that kid. Can't confirm. But anyway, it's like, man, there's more hockey silliness going on. Like, the Cowboys, like, juggling the puck up in the air, and there's just other silliness going on, like, you know, shooting between your teammates' legs. I don't know.
Stuff
it's
that
like
would never happen.
Never happen.
Even in like a rec game, because you would just get cross-checked so
But
hard.
I get
for
it.
showing
It's
off.
for kids. I get it.
Yeah, again,
We're not
we're
the
in our
audience.
30s.
Goldberg still sucks because after 2 periods, it's 9-0. And then in the most just unbelievable third period happens, and that team comes back to tie 9-9. They get to the locker room. They just had their ass kicked, and then the varsity put all their clothes in the shower and left the shower with the water running. So the Ducks get them.
Not bad, but the Ducks got something coming.
It's a pretty good prank. So the Ducks go down to the chemistry lab and get the liquid nitrogen and freeze all their clothes. And then so the varsity invites them out to dinner, does the old dine and dash, leaves them with like $800, $900 bill. So they have to do dishes and clean
Cody
up.
And I say Cody,
Agent Cody Banks.
Yeah, Agent Cody Banks was there the whole time. just knew it was coming too, and let him fall right for it.
So, you know, more pranks ensue. I think they get ants and release some kind of like African devil ants in their rooms, and with an elaborate like tube system feeding into each room, which would have been funny. You know, as a kid, it would have been funny. So they start biting all the kids, and they challenge them. So the varsity's upset about it, and they challenge them to a secret game. Does not go well. You know, they say 1st to 10, and I think I counted like 6 or 8 goals, like just real quick. Goldberg still sucks. I have that written down.
Do you have it underlined?
No.
Because he still sucks.
No. I should have put it in all caps, but I didn't. But, of course, Coach O'Ryan walks in on the secret game, shuts it down, and all the kids were wearing the Duck jerseys, and he told them to take them all off. So, you know, everybody's taking theirs off, but Charlie folds his arms.
Still holding on.
Folds his arms, and he goes, "You got 2 options, take it off or walk." And so he starts walking away, and he has this line. He goes, "You're breaking up the best thing any of us ever had." And I'm like, Charlie,
for yourself,
you realize there's only like 5 of you original dudes left. Like,
and Keenan Thompson's character, like, he came from like Compton, like, this is the best shot
he's
got.
like, "Hey, dude,
I'm staying."
And he made that point.
Yeah, he made that point. Like, this is the best chance I got, bro. I can't screw this
I'm
up.
Staying.
So you could just fly out of here, little duck.
So him and Fulton walk, and then they play. You know, next couple scenes is of them playing hooky at an amusement park. And then Charlie's like, "Hey, you know, this is awesome." And Fulton's like, "Yeah, we can't do this every day." Charlie's like, "Yeah, we'll just go to Polk School for a couple years, and then we'll just go play juniors in Canada." Fulton's like, "Look, dude, I don't know if I want to play hockey for the rest of my life." So Charlie, of course, gets upset and is like, "You know what? You can get out of here, too. I don't need you." And then the bombshell. We figure out that Hans dies. Because Charlie goes to see him.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, Charlie. Yeah, dude.
I was a little drunk at that point.
Yeah, Charlie goes to see him, and you see before he walks in that he's coughing, and he doesn't look real good.
Probably from all that exposure from the gas chamber in the 40s finally catching up to
Give
him.
it up.
Just telling you, man, exposure over time will get you. It's like secondhand smoke.
Moving on. Not a Nazi.
Not confirmed either.
So Charlie, you know, he goes and visits with Hans again, and Hans, you know, basically tells him that he needs to go back and give it up, and that Coach O'Ryan sees something in him. That's why he's being so hard on him. And then he goes to see his mom because they can't get a hold of him because he's been playing hooky all day, and so that's when he gets the news that Hans had passed away. And then Gordon Bombay returns, and I have written down so much teen angst from Charlie. Like, he is the poster child for teen angst. Like, he is just the typical teenager. And so Gordon, the day after the funeral, Gordon comes by and gets him out of bed at like 7:30, and they spend the day together. And he wanted to show Charlie why Coach O'Ryan is kind of the way he was, because Charlie's whole point was, look, he's just a washed-up ex-NHL guy that couldn't hack it, that gets his rocks off, taking it out on kids, but come to find out that they're sitting in the stands in the rink, and you see Coach O'Ryan out on the ice, and he's pushing his daughter. He's dancing with his daughter who's in a wheelchair on the ice, and he kind of says, hey, she was in an accident, 5 years ago, and when the Stars picked up and went to Dallas, he decided to stay here because he didn't want to mess with their daughter, or with their doctors and their treatment and stuff like that. So you kind of see Charlie softening and kind of
I remember softening at that point too. I was like, damn, Coach O'Ryan, nothing but love.
So and then Gordon takes him to the school and shows him his old picture, and I guess he's some kind of record that he had there at the school, and kind of just tells him, like, look, this is a great place, this is a good opportunity, and basically he convinces him to stay. And then we get another street hockey scene where, again, Gordon and Charlie have no equipment, yet somehow they get equipment, and there's the street hockey montage. And then we get the news that the dean is going to pull the board is going to pull the team's scholarships. And then, the reason for it is, like, the team was underperforming. And I have written down, like, is there that much pressure on JV prep school hockey?
Apparently at that one school, because all they were playing up against, what it seemed like was their competition was varsity. And I mean, I know they're getting smoked by varsity, but, just give them some time and let them mesh together for a little while.
So
I think it was just like a class thing, like these kids
were that's exactly
underprivileged kids, and these were like rich kids, and it's like they don't belong here.
So then I have Bombay comes back and puts his nuts on the table and threatens a lawsuit if they kick him out. So if you remember back to D1, he was a hotshot lawyer before he got put on community service or whatever, and he comes in and he's like, look, I've got a case, I'll tie it up for years in court, so you better just let these kids stay. And then another rollerblading scene, and then
do we already get to the Mall of America scene? They made the Mall of America trip again.
Yeah,
for the third time.
Said more rollerblading.
Yep.
Like they were really pushing this. Rollerblading.
They wanted rollerblading to be the sport of the new millennium for sure.
And so this takes us to the end of the movie where it's the big showdown, the JV varsity game. And they do a Norwegian tribute to Hans, where they skate in a circle and they touch the ice. Not a German tribute; it's a Norwegian tribute.
Well, he defected somewhere.
Stop. Hans was not a Nazi. It proves it right here that he was a Norwegian.
Right here.
Yes, I'm pointing to it. Y'all can't see it, but I'm pointing to it. He was Norwegian. He wasn't German. I don't think the Norwegians gassed a bunch of people. I could be wrong.
He could be wrong. I don't know. He could be a pioneer in the Norwegian cultures.
But the villains wear black again. I noticed that. The Hawks from D1, they wore black. Iceland wore black. And the varsity team is wearing black. So they've really got the light versus dark, thing going. And Goldberg, he moved Goldberg out of goalie. Now he's playing defense. And apparently they just had him playing out of position this whole time because he was a really good defender.
Yeah, like why not give him another shot? Yeah,
he made several plays, and then there were several uncalled penalties. Like it was like prison rules. Like these varsity players.
That's how it was against Iceland too.
They were head hunting, man.
Yeah.
They were just out there smacking kids.
I mean, if I was watching my 14-year-old kid just get laid out by those kids, I think I'd be standing up and saying something like, at least blow the whistle,
Yeah, but they weren't. It was prison rules.
Yeah, prison rules for sure.
So it's 0-0 after 2, and that's something that O'Ryan kind of preached throughout the movie, is that he wanted two-way defensive hockey. He said it takes 1 second to score, so no lead is safe. Good point. So he wanted them to kind of play gritty, tough, just kind of defensive hockey, and they are. It's 0-0. And and there was a weird Paul Correa cameo. Paul Correa, he played for the Mighty Ducks
Oh, he was an actual NHL player?
He was an actual NHL player. He was the dude that was in the intermission, the second intermission that the kid analyst is interviewing.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Correa. Yeah. Paul Correa. He played for the Ducks.
He was probably the spokesman for the team
10+ years.
Since they were like they were at expansion at that point because they had their stadium in the second movie, so they were probably in their
a couple years
into the franchise.
But he was like their like kind of key star player for
Madonna.
a decade. But then we get the return of Dean Portman.
Fuck yeah!
Because he decided to stay in Chicago, and then I guess when Bombay came back and got their scholarships kind of saved, he went to Chicago and convinced him to come back and play.
Probably wasn't doing shit else.
He's probably smoking weed.
Yeah,
and listening to Megadeth or something.
Living the dream.
Which is fine. But yeah, so the Bash Brothers are reunited, and again, more silliness. They go around headbutting each other and celebrating and bashing people into boards, and he sends Michael Cudlitz through the glass, and everybody's happy, and Charlie gets the C on him. You know, the captain's C slapped on his chest, and he learns how to play defense.
He earned it.
And then at the very end of the movie, Goldberg gets the game winner.
Yeah. Like you said, playing out of position this whole time. Guy couldn't stop a puck, but let him shoot one. He's shooting, 100%.
And he's a hell of a defender, apparently. Yeah.
He can just stand in front of the net and be like an extra shield for Julie. So that just shows you Orion that he's a better coach because he's like, if I can't use this walrus here, let me at least move him around and see what else he can do. So, he made the right call. He gave him another position, and he earned a scholarship for once.
So that was D3. Again, I think I'd rank him 1, 2, 3. Just because I always like D2, even with all the silliness and shenanigans that
was just a little more silly to me. Like I said, the sound effects and all that was a little much for me. But, in all, looking back on this 25 years later, it's still a decent trilogy,
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's a silly Disney hockey trilogy that almost, in time is still pretty damn good. And, they're all on Disney Plus now. So if anybody has that, if anyone has kids that wants to rewatch it, instead of watching Frozen for the 37th time like I would have, make your kid watch Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, no, it was good, and it brought back a lot of nostalgia. And
it really did. I wrote down on there just how much I missed the 90s after watching all those.
Well, what's crazy, though, is watching D2, which was like 94, and D3 was 96 when they came out, like, all the fashion, like the kids are wearing, like all that's coming back now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all coming back.
Because now it's retro and vintage, even though it's like that shit was,
It's crazy. Like I'm getting old, man. Like we're getting old. Like this shit that we came up with is now considered vintage by kids now.
Yeah, I'm gonna be hearing music that we liked in high school in like the
92.5.
Yeah, and I'll be like, fuck me, man.
Time to shut it down.
Yeah.
Time to shut it down. All right. So, and if any of you listeners have any suggestions on the next,
we got to think of something.
We have a couple kind of mapped out. We've talked about the Ninja Turtle trilogy.
Yep.
Reviewing that one. We've also talked about reviewing Three Ninjas. Which Three Ninjas for me, dude.
We're just reliving all our favorite movies from childhood, which I'm cool with.
So, but if y'all have any suggestions, please email them over or reach out to us on Twitter. And we'll discuss it, and we're always taking criticism and suggestions. So I think that takes us to everybody's favorite segment.
Oh man,
60 seconds on Big Brother, and it may be a lengthy one because we've been.
I'm gonna try to talk so fast so we don't get any bad reviews.
Oh yeah,
but all right. So Danny, who is a total bitch, won HOH, and she nominated Kevin and David as the safe move because she's a bitch and just didn't want to make any big moves. So David, he had previously won a secret power called the Disruptor that no one else knew about because it was a competition in complete darkness, and he was able to win it. And you can either tell everybody you want it or you can keep it a secret. Obviously, you want to keep it a secret because you don't want anybody to know that you had this power because it could throw somebody's game off. So he has this power called the Disruptor, and he was able to take himself off the block with that power. So now Danny had to name a replacement. And she named Tyler, who's in alliance with her. And that kind of disrupted, the alliance because you don't put up people you're cool with on the block because they could go home. And then then they had a power veto competition, and Devon actually won. It was her first competition she's ever won. And she went up and said she really wants to take Kevin off the block because by taking Kevin off the block, she'll gain his loyalty. And, having loyalty and having numbers in that game is what it's all about. You want to have strength in numbers. That's why people form alliances. And you want people to trust you until you can backstab them. So after Davon wins the power veto and she's talking to Danny and she's saying she wants to use it because she'll gain Kevin as a number for her, Danny's pleading with her not to do it because she's going to have to make another replacement. She's going to have to name a fourth person. And by naming a fourth person, you've already listed out 4 people that you don't like because you're going to have to nominate them all. And but Davon makes the move anyways because it's her call to make. She takes Kevin off the block, and Danny now has to make her 4th nomination of the week, and she puts up Ian. And I love Ian. He's a past winner. He's like a quiet genius. He has autism, which is, nothing wrong with that. It's just even more impressive that he could win this game with nothing but his social skills. And I love Ian. He's like the nicest guy. He's very smart. And when she put him up, she's like, I'm gonna have to put up Ian because he's gonna be my super pawn, and he's gonna be safe this week. Well, Ian started realizing that during the week after the nominations were set, Tyler wasn't campaigning to anyone because if you're nominated, you're going to go up to everyone and try to say, you should keep me because I can do this for you, or I'm not going to do this. I'm going to help you this way. Ian was doing all that. He was campaigning, which is what you should do. Tyler was just, sitting back, sunbathing and drinking smoothies, and Ian was like, that's not right. What's going on here? And he pretty much figures out that there's a bigger alliance that he's not in, and he's now screwed. And on last night was when they took the vote, and he had 3 votes. There was 8 people voting. If it's a tie, 4-4, the HOH would break that tie. So he was like, if I can just get 4 votes, I think I'll be okay, and I'll let Danny break the tie. He had 3, and then he had a 4th would have been Nicole, who Nicole was like, I'm your number 1. We're together till the final 2. Well, Nicole's a fake bitch, and she only said that. She was basically, I think she was faking the whole time. She just wants people to think she's nice and thinks that she likes Ian, but she knew the whole time she wasn't going to break up the alliance because that's bad for her game. So it came down to Nicole voting last. It was 4 votes to evict Ian and 3 to evict Tyler, and he needed 1 more to go his way, but she unfortunately voted to evict Ian. She had some crocodile's tears coming. She planned it all along. I saw a clip behind the scenes where she was basically saying, I need to figure out a way to fake these tears, and I need to figure out what to say so people don't like me. So it was all fake. She knew all along who she was going to vote out. So,
but that's part of the game, though,
it's
right?
part of the game, but I just really like Ian. I don't like Nicole. So I say at the end, fuck Nicole. He went home, and he had his exit interview, and he's just such a nice guy and so classy. He didn't blow up anyone's game. He congratulated everyone, told them all good game, and gave them all a hug before he left. But so Ian got voted out. He got backdoored, basically, and it's just been a wild week, but I know we missed a couple weeks, and it's hard to recap 24-hour feeds into 60 seconds. But bottom line is Danny and Nicole both suck, and Ian's a good guy. Ian should have gone home.
All right.
Anyways,
and how close are we getting to the end?
Good thing you should ask. Ian was the first juror, so there's going to be 11 jurors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there should be 10 more people nominated or evicted out, so about maybe 10 more weeks, 2.5.
Oh my gosh.
It's almost 100 days by the end of it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I think they're on day 41.
So is this playing out in real time?
Yeah.
So none of it was pre-recorded?
No. Some of it is pre-recorded, but Thursday night's a live show, so they do it all live. They do a live eviction because they take their ballots, they cast their votes to evict live, and then they immediately have a head of household competition to see who's going to be in power that week immediately following. So they had the competition. You could have watched the live feeds because there's always live feeds because there's always cameras recording. If you go to the live feeds, you could have watched and seen who won it. Instead, we'll find out Sunday night, and then we'll find out who the new HOH is and who the nominees are.
Okay. All right.
It's the same thing every week. Somebody wins POV, they make nominations, and then they have somebody wins HOH, head of household, they make nominations. They have a power veto with the nominees to see if they can get off the block. If they can't, then those 2 go to what's it called? Through the live eviction.
Okay. I just didn't know how close we were to a new season starting. Do they usually have 2 seasons a year?
No,
or?
it's every summer.
Every summer.
Every summer.
So
it's
next
from January from June to August, early September. But this one started late, obviously, because COVID. So it started late, and they're close to halfway.
Okay.
So next year we'll get in on it.
Okay, next year. I can't get in until next year. Gotcha. Okay, and I think that takes us to our Mount Rushmore
Mount
segment.
Rushmore.
And like I mentioned in the beginning, this week's is going to be the NFL bust Mount Rushmore. It's going to be our biggest NFL bust in NFL history, draft bust. So, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I can go. You want me to do all 4?
Yeah, why don't you? We'll alternate. Why don't you do one and I'll do one?
Cool. My first one was Braylon Edwards because I remember growing up, like in the early 2000s, like I watched college football seemed like more than anything. And Braylon Edwards, Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, and Michael Crabtree were the best college football players I've ever seen. Well, wide receivers I've ever seen. 3 of those guys had good careers. 2 of them are going to be Hall of Famers, and the other one is Braylon Edwards.
Right.
So he was the, he went to Michigan. He was the first Big Ten receiver to record 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, and only the 3rd ever D1 receiver to ever do that. He got selected number 3 overall by Cleveland, which that was probably doomed him right there. But he played 4 years in Cleveland, 2 years with the Jets, 1 year with San Francisco, 1 year with Seattle, and then he went back to the Jets in 2012. He made 1 Pro Bowl in 2007, but for his career, he had 359 catches, 5,522 yards, and 40 touchdowns, which isn't terrible. But like I said, he went number 3 overall, and when he's in that company, and he won the Blitnikoff. So he was an All-American, unanimous All-American, Blitnikoff winner, number 3 overall, and then he just bounced around after Cleveland and kind of sputtered. I mean, he did have 1 good year, but I think it was the high expectations that got him.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the story with all these guys that we're going to talk about. My first one is Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf was selected number 2 overall in the 98 draft behind Peyton Manning. He had 317 completions on 655 attempts for his career. He threw only 14 touchdowns versus 36 interceptions. He finished with only 3,600 passing yards and a 50 passer rating.
Damn, that's not percentage completion. That's a passer rating.
That's a passer rating. And his career was shortened due to poor play, bad behavior, injuries, and his work ethic. And drug use also played a part in his downfall. He said he started using opioids in 2003, which led to his addiction problem. And then later, a Texas judge sentenced him to 10 years probation. And then 2 years after that, he pled guilty to felony burglary and drug possession in Montana. And he was sentenced to 7 years in prison, which he only served 2. But since he's kind of turned his life around, he's a college football analyst, I think on ESPN, maybe Fox. And he kind of leads, not necessarily a ministry, but he kind of works with people with addictions. So, he's kind of turned everything around and he's doing better. He's doing better now.
I saw one of those. It wasn't a 30 for 30. Was it E60? Mm-hmm. And it was like you're talking about. He was talking to like a group of like recovering addicts and telling his story and just how he had to hit absolute rock bottom.
Yeah.
And how he had these expectations and he couldn't fulfill them, and so he turned to drugs, and he was breaking into people's houses and shit, and like rummaging through their cabinets, and that's how he got caught. That's how bad it was. He was breaking into houses, like strangers' homes, and that was a number 2 overall pick, behind Peyton Manning.
Played for the Cowboys for 4 games.
Did, man.
Yeah, I remember that.
If you had any kind of arm talent in the early 2000s, you played for the Cowboys.
Vinny Testaverde, Drew Bledsoe, Ryan Leaf, Quincy Carter. It was that black hole in between.
Was it Drew? Did you say Drew Henson?
Was
Henson,
that the Michigan?
Michigan, and he was a pitcher too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he played for the Yankees.
We were like the Cleveland Browns when it came to just QB carousel.
There was just that black hole in between Aikman and Romo.
Yeah, and people give Romo so much shit. And I'm like, do you remember the years leading up to Romo? It was a wasteland.
That's why people are doing it to Dak now. And I'm like, y'all don't.
Yeah,
I don't think some of the people are.
You remember
old
Brandon
enough.
Whedon?
Yeah, I don't think
recently when
Tony Banks. Tony Banks played
Adam
for
Banks
us.
is dead.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Tony Banks played for us.
Sam Castle.
Anthony Wright.
Anthony Wright.
I mean, dude, there was just a suck list of quarterbacks in here. Clint Sterner. You remember that name?
No,
Clint Sterner.
You're digging now. You got me.
No, because I've been there. I've lived it. And, I'll get to some, and when we talk about Cowboys. Chad Hutchinson, yeah.
There's a good one.
And we'll talk about kind of some of my reasoning on my feelings toward the Cowboys when we do the recap and why I'm not freaking out. But there was a whole list of quarterbacks in between Romo and Aikman and Romo, and with Dak, I don't want to go back there because you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's like a abyss when it comes to not having a quarterback. I mean, look at some other teams that are in that situation now. They're just rotating guys in and out, and to get a 4th-round pick that turned out to be, I would say, above average. I mean, I know he's not elite, but he's better than like Sam Darnold, who was number 3 overall. Josh Rosen, who was a 1st-round pick.
I think he's
Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall.
I think he's on the level of Deshaun Watson.
I'd say a little under that, but he's probably 8th or 9th in the league.
Yeah,
which ain't bad for a 4th-round pick.
No. Continue with your list before we get
mine
sidetracked.
was that'll come up later. Mine was Trent Richardson. Trent Richardson, he's he's an All-American, 2-time BCS champion at Alabama, a Doak Walker Award winner. He was considered the best running back prospect since Adrian Peterson, drafted number 3 overall by Cleveland.
There's a theme, I see.
Yeah. He was actually traded in his 2nd year. You remember that? He was traded to Indy, and I think they recouped a 1st-round pick for that. Yeah. So that was actually a good move by Cleveland, surprisingly. But, he took a sharp decline when he went to Indy because he was decent enough to get a 1st-round pick for that by Cleveland. So 2 years in Cleveland, or 1.5 because he's traded in his 2nd year. 2 years in Indy, and then he was on the Oakland practice squad, and then another practice squad, Baltimore. So practice squads with 2 teams, and then he was at the Saskatchewan Roughriders in 2017 and 18, and then the American, what was it, AAF, American All-American Football? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's where he ended up as the Birmingham Irons, where he actually was the rushing champion there. He had like 12 rushing touchdowns. But for his career, only 2,032 rushing yards. His average rush per carry was 3.3 and 17 touchdowns over his career. And again, it was just such a high expectations. 3rd overall pick. They compared him to they said he was as good as AP prospect-wise, but he was so undersized. I remember he just looked so little. He was like a Doug Martin, like muscle hamster. But Doug Martin just had a work ethic that Trent Richardson didn't have.
Well, I remember watching him in Alabama, and
he was great.
His thighs, I mean, you talk about his size, like the dude was built.
Yeah, he was compacted, like Maurice Jones-Drew, Doug Martin.
Yeah, and he would just bounce off dudes, and he would get out of tackles that you wouldn't think he'd be able to get out of.
But then again, one thing I got to say is I would never draft a running back 3rd overall. I know Saquon went 2, and we got Zeke 4. But I think that's silly because, KC just got your guy at 32. Mm-hmm. Derrick Henry went in the 2nd round. Dalvin Cook went in the 2nd round.
Well, just the way the league's going, I mean, it's a passing league.
Yeah.
And so you can find backs to carry the ball.
And you could have a running back and then a pass-catching back. Like we could have signed whoever you want off the streets that still had some legs on them, and then paired them with Tony Pollard as our patch. Which I like Zeke. Don't get me wrong. I just hate the thought of paying him $15-16 million a year.
Yeah, but we'll get to this.
Yeah, we're getting sidetracked.
He looked great.
He did look great.
He looked like rookie year. I don't know if
it's $1 million a year great. When we're in a tough salary cap, we're gonna have to pay our quarterback $40, and we're paying a wide receiver $20. We're paying a busted ass linebacker $15. We're paying a DN $20. I mean, where are we getting all this fucking money from?
I don't know. The Rams.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. When I saw that they
just re-up Kupp and
Jalen, made him the highest paid corner, and that was after they were like $400,000 over the cap, but then they restructured them and then they signed it.
They just signed Robert Woods today too, to a big extension.
Woods?
Yes.
How the fuck are they paying for these guys? They better draft their ass off because they're gonna have rookie contracts.
I don't think they have any picks. Because didn't they give it all up?
You're right.
For Jalen Ramsey?
Holy shit. What are they doing?
And I thought
they're going to win now.
I thought it's either $38 or $62 million in dead money.
Because they probably paying Todd Gurley still.
Yeah.
And then say what you will about Jared Goff. He ain't worth that money.
No.
He's not, in hindsight, he's not a number 1 overall pick, and he's more like I'd rather have a journeyman like Ryan Fitzpatrick on my team making $5 million than that guy who he's not going to develop any more than what he is.
I see Joe Flacco written all over that dude.
Yeah, except he ain't going to win a Super Bowl.
No. All right, so my second guy is Brian Bosworth, the Boz.
Yep.
He won a national championship at Oklahoma in 1985. He was a 2-time Butkus Award winner and a 2-time All-American at Oklahoma. He was selected 1st overall in the 1987 supplemental draft. which, is kind of crazy. There was a lot of stuff going on around the draft. He sent out letters to 12 teams basically saying, hey, I'm not going to play for you. And he ended up sending one to Seattle, who ended up eventually signing him. But it just didn't go well for him. He played 3 seasons, but he did end up signing both the largest rookie contract and largest team contract in NFL history at that time, being, even going in the supplemental draft. But he was known for his wild hairstyles and his big personalities, and all that was good enough for 4 sacks and 3 fumble recoveries in 24 career games.
God, that sucks. Great college player, though.
Dude, he was one of the best.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're making like an all-college football team, he's probably your starting linebacker.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I didn't know about him is he was from Irving. He went to Irving MacArthur High School, which I didn't know.
I had no idea.
So he's,
You've seen
right
the
here.
30 for 30, though, right? That's a really good documentary.
Yeah.
He's, like, reflecting on it. And, he knows he was a douchebag, but he kind of cashed in on that personality, too, because he made, like, B-rate movies.
He did.
So,
he's still acting.
I mean, good for him, At least you can make money off of it.
He's still acting to this day.
Better you make money off your likeness than someone else. And how cool, that would be a badass Halloween costume, too, to do the boz. Because I got my hair grown out now, and I could easily cut it.
Mm-hmm.
Get those big, like, Terminator shades that are, like, what you get when you get out of, like, the eye doctor when they dilate your eyes, or like old people wear. Just wear those with like streaks down the side.
Then he had
I don't have muscles. I got rolls, but I can at least kind of flex a little bit.
And he always had like some kind of like zigzag design and lines in his hair and different color streaks.
So fucking cool.
And he wore 55 for the Seahawks when they had the which I think are their best colors. It was like the silver, the blue, and the green, like that old school logo that they had.
Yeah, I like their old school logo with its like coming along
with the
parallel.
bird. Yeah,
like that. I thought that was really cool.
But yeah, man, the boss, he was just cool. Like he was a monster on the field. He was cool off the field. He just
what was it? Just couldn't hack it at the next level.
And I think he got hurt.
I think
there was an injury that took it all away.
I remember in that one video too. They showed I think it was Bo Jackson when they had a goal line stand, and they're like it just kind of all went downhill from there because he had this hype about him like he was unstoppable, unbeatable, and then he went toe to toe with Bo Jackson, and Bo Jackson he stood him up, but then Bo Jackson just churned right through.
And I think that it was that hit that kind of started everything.
Yeah, I think that was.
I think I read a quote like one of the doctors said he had the shoulders of like a 65-year-old. And he was like 24.
It was so fucking hard all the time.
He was 24 or something at the time, and he had the shoulders of like a 65-year-old.
Wow. I would recommend that 30 for 30. Wasn't it called Just the Boz?
Just the Boz, yeah.
Well, not just the Boz.
It was
but
called The Boz.
Boz. Yeah. I highly recommended that.
So who's your third?
Next up, Deion Jordan. My guys are, I guess, more recent. Do you remember Deion Jordan? He was a first-team All-American, 2-time All-Pac-12, drafted number 3 in 2013. He had great measurables, but I think he was more of a project. It was like when they took him on, he was like 6'6", 250 something. He's quick off the ball, quick off the snap, but he played in that Chip Kelly where everything was just fast, up tempo. And I think he was just more of a product of the environment because those were good Oregon teams back in the day.
Yeah.
So he put up good numbers. But where was I? So he got drafted number 3. He just wasn't worth that. He wasn't worth that number 3 overall pick. Never lived up to it. He was in Miami, who drafted him. Stayed there for 3 years. He went to Seattle for a couple years, and and then he was on the Oakland practice squad, Niners practice squad, and then I think he's currently on the Vegas Raiders practice squad.
Oh, so he's still bouncing around.
Yeah, and just practice squad too, which good for him. He's still like a 1% of guys who played football to at least make it to that level.
Right.
But number 3 overall has been on 3. His 3 former teams have all been practice squads, and but yeah, so only 91 career tackles. 10.5 career sacks, and only forced 2 fumbles, and that's going on like 8 years now.
That's like a season for a good.
Oh yeah, that's actually like a TJ Watt season right there. Who we should have taken over Taco, but that's an honorable mention for me. Is that piece of shit taking Taco over TJ because Taco put his hand in the dirt and had long arms. It's the only explanation we got.
Thanks, Rod Marinelli. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and then he just bolted out of here. It's like take that fucking guy with you at least.
So my third pick. Was also selected 3rd overall, and I'm talking about Akili Smith. He was selected 3rd overall by the Cincinnati Bengals in the 99 draft. He was selected behind Tim Couch and McNabb Donovan McNabb, and we could have talked about Tim Couch.
Yeah,
because
really
talk
coulda
about a
done-
bust.
We could have done a Browns bus
Yeah,
segment.
we really
'cause
could
Trent
have.
Richardson, Johnny Manziel, Tim Couch, Baker Mayfield.
He played good last night.
He's like in his third year. He better have a good game. And he played the Bengals.
But yeah, so Akili Smith, I remember getting this dude's rookie cards.
Sorry, real quick. Was he Houston or Florida State?
He was Oregon.
Oregon.
He was kind of the first Oregon quarterback to get hype, and then
Joey Harrington.
I was going to talk about him. Kind of,
he was decent though. I don't think he was that much of a bust. Harrington.
He was a bust. He was pretty bad.
He wasn't Mount Rushmore.
No, he wasn't. Right. I mean, I was going to talk about him at the end. But Akili Smith, he was kind of the first Oregon quarterbacks to gain notoriety. He scored a 16 out of 50 on the Wonderlic officially, and then his agent hired him a tutor, and unofficially he scored like a 38 out of 50. But he just didn't have the skills. He really only got one good year in college, and he kind of was a late comer to that draft class because he had an excellent senior season. He threw for like 3,700 yards and like 41 TDs in 11 games.
Damn.
But in the NFL, he only passed for 2,200 total yards, 5 TDs, and 13 interceptions in 22 career games.
Yeah, so he was in and out.
He was just very quickly in and out. I
Yeah.
think he was on like Green Bay practice squad for a minute, and then he went to NFL Europe and played for Frankfurt, and then maybe a year in the CFL, and then he's done. But yeah, I just remember that guy. He wore number 11.
You said he had his rookie card. You still got it?
No, I don't have any of my cards.
Oh, you told me about it in the
Yeah.
move or something?
We lost them in a move.
God, that sucks.
I
I actually
had
have a sweet collection. I'm
gold
still
mine.
going. Yeah, and I would love to compare with you too. I still get card. I just got a Miro Haskinen rookie card in. It was a graded 10.
Hang on
Just
to
got
that.
to know. Yeah. Because I was like, because I think we might talk about it later. He's the odds-on favorite to win the Conn Smythe for us. If we were to win, he's the odds-on favorite for his Stars to win. He's like 4-1 odds.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, he leads our team in points right now in the playoffs. And I was like, if we were to win, I'm gonna get that jersey. Well, I think I'm gonna get it anyways. It's just such an investment, dude. A hockey jersey so much, but
They're like
it's so
$200,
fucking
aren't
cool.
they? Like
On a
over.
good deal. I've seen them go for $3. Yeah, unless you can get a
Jeez.
discount, like the pro shop's having a sale, but anywhere from $200 to $300 for a really legit one.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
a legit.
Like a one which I would wear with pride. And that's why I was like, okay, I want to get Ben, but he's getting older, so I want to get like Klingberg or Haskinen, someone who's going to be with us for maybe 10 years. So, anyways, my turn. My last one is Jamarcus Russell, of course. So, I mean, he was 21-4 at LSU. He won the MVP of the Sugar Bowl, which was the national championship. He was 2006 first team All-SEC. He was the Manning Award winner. So, naturally, the Oakland Raiders selected him number 1 overall. And he held out until he got a then-record $61 million contract with $32.5 guaranteed. And you don't see those rookie contracts anymore. And it's because of him and because of Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford was the last one.
Injury-wise, yeah. So, but Jamarcus Russell, it's like he came into the league without throwing a single pass, and he just got $32.5 million guaranteed and another, 30, almost 30 coming up. So it was ridiculous. So then he actually starts playing football, and he fucking sucked. 52.1% completion percentage, threw for 4,083 yards, 18 touchdowns to 23 interceptions. He also he fumbled 25 times and actually lost 15 of them. So that's like a 38 to 18 turnover to touchdown ratio. And you probably remember he went 7-18 as a starter, but you probably heard the story about him getting a disc from his offensive coordinator and saying like, "Hey, we got some new plays. We want you to look through. Just go home and check out this new offense. We're going to start running." Coaches knew it was a blank. They were setting him up to see if he was committed to it. Came back in the next week, and they were like, "So what'd you think about it?" He goes, "Perfect. I love it. Let's run all those plays." And they're like, "That was a blank disc. Like, we know you don't give a shit, You're not even focusing on the game. You're not putting any commitment in." I mean, he just thought he would just get to the NFL and win on talent. And I mean, God bless him. He got $32.5 million at least.
I wonder how much of that he has left.
$32.50.
I think I think I remember hearing like he was drinking a bunch of lean.
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
got
I remember that story.
Super fat. Like he was a big dude to begin with, but then there toward the end he was like
what's his name? The
Eddie
hefty
Lacy.
lefty. No, I'm thinking the quarterback from Kentucky.
Lorenzo. Jared Lorenzen.
Lorenzen.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, he died. I should have made
Rest
that
in
joke.
peace.
Hefty lefty. May he Throw that pass to RGB tonight.
Oh, also rest in peace.
Yeah.
So my last one is Tony Mandarich. He was referred to as the best offensive line prospect ever. He was drafted second overall by the Green Bay Packers in the 1989 draft. He was a consensus All-American and a two-time Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year at Michigan State. He only ended up playing in 86 games and starting 63 of them. But he's another one of those guys. I think he was like 6'7", like 360 pounds.
Yeah,
and like
just a
back in
beast.
'89, linemen weren't that big. I mean, like a tight end nowadays was like an offensive lineman back then.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of 6'2", 6'3" guys, 6'4"
But they were probably
guys.
more 265, not
280.
not 300.
Yeah, but he was just a mountain of a man.
He really was. That's a good way to put it, a mountain of a man.
He was a mountain of a man, and then, now that his playing career is over, he's admitted to steroid use at Michigan State. He kind of dodged the question about using steroids in the NFL. But he played in Green Bay from like 89 to 94, and then he took a 2-year break, and he actually played 2 years for the Colts in 97 and 98, and he actually did quite well in that 98 season, but then injuries forced him out. But he's another one of these guys that had addiction problems after the fact, but he's doing well now. He's moved to Arizona. He's opened a photography studio. He got into landscape photography as like a hobby, and now he's running a studio over in Arizona.
Right
on. But just one of probably the all-time biggest busts, because when that guy was coming out, they were like, "These can't miss."
Yeah, I think he was just all-time hype too, because like you said, he was considered the greatest offensive prospect of all time. Yeah,
and there's some guys that we could have talked about. Obviously Johnny Manziel, he's 22nd overall in 14, and we all know how that played out. Taco Charlton. Aaron Curry was 4th overall in 2009.
We took Bobby Carpenter like 16th overall.
Yeah. Let's see. Vernon Gholston was one I remember that was a big bust for the Jets. He was 6th overall. Matt Leinart was 10th overall in 06, and when you consider what
he just wanted to live that college life. He never wanted to leave college.
Why would you?
Yeah, he was a god at USC.
Yeah.
Was he the one that had like a hot tub in his room?
That was Josh Rosen.
Oh.
Vince Young, we didn't talk about.
Yeah, I thought Vince Young, but he actually won Offensive Rookie of the Year and then made a playoff appearance.
Yeah.
He just had like mentally, because they said he'd never been like booed or like looked down on his life in college, or in a football aspect. And then he actually, like, when he hit adversity in the pros, because remember he like disappeared for a minute, and they couldn't find him, and they thought he was like suicidal and was gonna like kill himself, and I think his mom had to find him and bring him back.
Well, that's how a lot of these guys are. A lot of these guys are always told.
Yeah, because they're the best. You're the best. You can't do any wrong. And then you get to the pros, and it's like
eventually
harsh reality.
You get to a level that everybody is just as good.
Yeah, it's not just playing anymore. You got to actually like study. Like we said about Jamarcus Russell, you got to study. You got to prep. You got to work out. You got to practice harder than anybody. Before it was just all natural.
And when you grow up playing sports, some of those levels come sooner than others. For me, it was probably like high school. Where finally it caught up to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can't get by, just being more athletic. I got to be smart.
Yep.
But a big one that I was going more of like an old school one. Charles Rogers. He was drafted 2nd overall in 03. I think he only scored like 4 touchdowns for Detroit. And didn't he just pass away?
I'm not sure.
I want to say he just passed away. We mentioned Joey Harrington. David Carr, but
shit, I'll still remember that first game against Houston when they beat us.
Mm-hmm.
That was heartbreaking, dude. Expansion team beat us.
Kajana Carter was 1st overall in 95.
That's who I was thinking. He's from either Houston or Florida State. Then redemption.
He tore his ACL in his first ever preseason game, and then after that,
bad fucking.
After that, he only scored 20 touchdowns over seven seasons in the NFL. Andre Ware was 7th in 1990. He was a Heisman Trophy winner out of Houston.
That's who. Okay, and the other guy must have been Florida State. I'm not crazy.
Yeah, he in 3 seasons in Detroit, he threw for 5 touchdowns.
In 3 seasons?
And in comparison, he tossed 44 as a junior at Houston.
Damn.
In 1 year. But there's, there's several guys that we could go, but those are just a few that didn't make the list. But, that list.
It's always grown. We could look back in 5 years and pick guys out that are currently playing right now that are
for
like
sure.
Leonard Fournette, is on pace to be a bust. I mean, I guess he's been. I shouldn't have said that. He's had good years, but just that hype, because I remember him coming out of high school and people being like, "This is the next big thing. He's going to LSU," and then wasn't he 4th overall, and then he doesn't even get his rookie contract renewed.
And it's not a talent thing. It's a Jamarcus Russell thing. It's a give a shit thing.
Yeah.
Like I think he's a dude who just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
like,
which sucks because obviously he has the talent and the body for it. I mean, the guy's he's built to play running back. It's just like you said, he doesn't want to play running back.
For my sake, I hope he stays that way because I've got Ronald Jones.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I just hope he stays not giving a shit. Ronald Jones keeps out touching him.
All right, I think you're gonna be okay. Baker's gonna be on that list, I feel.
So on that note, we're gonna talk about the NFL for a little bit because the NFL is back. The NFL is back. The NFL is back. Week 1 is in the books. It's my favorite time of the year. It's like Christmas for me. So watching the last week's games, was it weird without the crowd? Like, was that weird for you?
I mean, not really, because they don't even show that panoramic view of the field or whatever. It's like it's just focused on the field. You're not looking in the stands. So I knew they're not going to be there. So I think if I were to see it, it'd be honestly, I'll say this. It was more weird to see the small number of people at the Kansas City game than to see no people at other games. Just to see, like, those people scattered. Whereas if, like, the Saints or wherever they were playing, I think they just put, like, covering over the seats. And they just had the logos. To me, that felt more normal than just seeing, like, hundreds of people scattered.
It's weird for me because, I mean, you don't see the crowd, obviously.
Yeah.
But the crowd noise that they pipe in it's not right. Like, it's different. It's not the same. So, to me, the whole atmosphere is weird, especially, like, in a big stadium like SoFi, like where the Cowboys played.
Man.
It was a beautiful
awesome
stadium. But it felt kind of hollow and empty. It wasn't the same vibe. The crowd noise, like I said, you can tell it's artificial. Like, it's not the same. And did you see any sloppy play? Because, I think we see with a few games across the league, and especially the Cowboys, the importance of preseason. Like, for the starters, it's not a big deal, but for spots 48 through 53, like, it's a big deal for those guys. But even so, especially for the Cowboys with McCarthy and a whole new staff, like, just the routine of a game day, calling plays, being on the sideline, the rhythm of the game. I think that preseason is important.
Yeah, I get. I mean, I understand you don't need 4 of them, but 2 to 3 obviously would be nice just to get that rhythm and that feel with the team, especially with the new coach. And we have almost all new coaching staff.
And I did see some sloppy play. Not sloppy, but you could tell the second halves of games were a lot better executed, and they looked a lot better than the first half. Because, that was the first time going against somebody other than your teammates for everybody across the league. So I think week 2, will be much better. It'll be more crisp, more sharp.
Now you got footage too to look at.
Yeah, now
we can watch what the Falcons did, and the Falcons,
and teams can watch themselves in live action and see what they did.
You can have coaches breaking down the film.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think that was more like a preseason game for a lot of us.
And so this season kicking off, it means Tom Brady with another team for the first time in 20 years, which I got to admit, it was weird seeing him run out there in a white number 12 Tampa Bay jersey. It was just weird. I'm used to seeing him in that blue and silver and red. It was an odd sight to see. But that first drive, I thought, okay, here we go. Tom Brady's going to do it again. They ended up losing. Tom Brady threw 2 pretty bad interceptions.
Threw a pick six.
I
had New Orleans defense in that game. I think they had 2 interceptions, a pick six, and then a fumble, but that was on like a kickoff that they forced.
What's cool about Bruce Arians is he did not hold back. He criticized Brady,
which is good because Brady, if you play like shit, or I'm not saying he played like shit the whole game, but there was parts where he screwed up. It doesn't matter if you're a 20-year veteran with 6 Super Bowls. Like, it's your coach's job to critique you and tell you that.
And I think
so. I'm glad he did.
And I think Tom probably took it. I don't think there's any bad blood, or I don't think he doesn't like being criticized, because he came out and said, you can't turn the ball over. I can't turn the ball over like that. But the opening game, Kansas City versus Houston, a week ago Thursday. Is there anything stopping Kansas City from just steamrolling the league?
Just injuries is the only thing that can really injuries, and I think Baltimore is their only competition out of the AFC. So if they can stay healthy and avoid Baltimore till the AFC Championship, there's nothing's going to stop them to at least getting to that point. And then it's going to be who's the hot team with the healthy team at that point. Because it's a two. You look at the NFC and there's 6 teams that can realistically represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I don't see anyone other than Baltimore or Kansas City coming out of the AFC.
Yeah, I mean,
and if they do come out, they're probably the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I think they're the top 2 teams right now in the league.
I agree. It doesn't look like the contract is going to affect Mahomes. He was as good as ever.
Yeah, he's
a stud.
Yeah,
and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he looks good. That looks like a good pick.
Good pick too to get him in the first round because you ain't got that 5th-year option. Yeah. I think that's always good to get a guy at the tail end of that just for that reason because they probably could have waited and traded up, but they wanted that 5th-year option, which is smart.
Yeah, and he's going to fit seamlessly in that offense.
And they could rotate in receivers. Like they don't have to they don't need that $20 million receiver like we have. They can just go who's fast and who could outrun a guy and look over his shoulder and catch a ball because Patrick's going to throw it 60 yards downfield. You just got to beat your guy off the line and get
and
separation.
They've got 2 guys that are
they got burners.
They've got Mecole Hardman and
Tyreek Hill,
and that's perfect for
and
the
then they
offense.
probably got arguably the best tight end, if not second best tight end in the league, and then they just paired it with the stud running back. So I'm saying all they got to do is stay healthy, and they're coasting to the AFC Championship.
The defense has got to show up every week, but I just don't see anybody stopping them. Which brings us to their opponent in last year's Super Bowl, San Francisco, dropping a game to Arizona.
I wish I could have watched that. I guess it was blacked out, or I don't have NFL Network or anything like all y'all do. So, because I have Hopkins and Murray in my fantasy league, and Hopkins got stopped on the 1-yard line from a catch for a touchdown, but he still had, I think it was like 14 catches.
He had a career day
with 151, and he almost had a touchdown. So I mean, that was a great game, and Murray's, man, I think he's the real deal.
He's my man crush.
He's so fucking fast.
Him and Cliff.
Ooh, you want that little threesome in Arizona?
Wouldn't mind it. Wouldn't mind it.
Give me a bottle of Chateau and let's go.
Let's hit it. I just think.
Hey, as long as if it's at Cliff's house, I'm there too, man. That's a beautiful house during the draft. That was nice.
I just think it's the perfect situation.
And he talked about how he's like, if I had the number 1 pick, I would draft him.
Murray.
And they're like, what are you gonna do with Rosen? He's, I'll fucking
who
trade him. I'll figure it out. And he was right. He got that job and he drafted him number 1 overall. And now look at him. They're like a dark horse favorite to win that. I don't think they'll win that division because Seattle, but extra wild card position this year. I think they might get it.
I don't think the Rams are going to stay as hot as they are. I think it's going to be that whole division though is going to be a dogfight.
Yeah. If you're talking about San Francisco maybe being the 3rd or 4th best team in that division, and they were in the Super Bowl last year, that's a good division.
But they're going to be without Kittle this week. Kittle just got ruled out this week, but no, Kyler, man, you kind of see between him, Mahomes, Jackson, and Deshaun Watson, kind of the evolution of the quarterback in the NFL. Like we're getting away from a Matt Ryan, who we're going to talk about a statue.
Yeah,
it's just
Ben Roethlisberger. Which he was elusive, but he's not going to outrun anybody.
Not today.
You want a guy that's going to sprint and also throw it 50 yards downfield in the next play.
So it was a good game. Arizona, they're kind of my dark horse pick this year. I don't know if it's my man crush on Kyler or what, but
they got weapons, man.
They got weapons all over the field.
And didn't they get Isaiah Simmons?
They got Isaiah Simmons
like
in the
draft. Swiss Army knife of defense. Just talk about your prototypical 21st century defensive player. He can play linebacker. He can play safety. He's fast enough to play safety, and he's strong enough to hit you as a linebacker.
And he can probably come off the edge and rush the passer.
Yeah, and he's an edge rusher. Yeah, because he's so big and strong. He's like, he's a
6'6".
hybrid. He's a fucking hybrid.
You can put him. He can put him wherever you want and just let him create havoc. But let's talk about that
cornerstone piece.
Let's talk about that Cowboys game for a minute. What'd you think?
I never felt confident that we were going to win. Just because. From the very instant when LA ran that first play with the motion, I think it was like a sweep screen to the side with Woods, and they get out there and he has 4 or 5 blockers ahead of him, and I'm like, that's how it's going to be. Because Sean McVay is actually smart. He confuses the defense. He puts people in motion, pre-snaps motions. He can let Goff read the defense, and he's just go, all right, now we're just going to get the ball out in 2 seconds. I'm going to swing it over here, and you're going to have 3 blockers. And it's like we can't prepare for that, or we can't scheme around that. We knew that shit was coming. That's what McVay does. That's why you have to match him when it comes to that mentally. You have to prepare for everything against those guys. And then we were just doing the same shit, man. It felt like a Garrett game to me.
I think, and I'm a homer, but I think the lack of preseason, the lack of time together, I think they went in. I want to believe they went in intentionally conservative.
That's a terrible thing to do, though.
Because they knew that the offensive line wasn't there.
They're not going to be there this week either.
I know.
Tyron Smith might be out. Yeah, we might be out both tackles.
And some of his first down play selections confused me.
Who, McCarthy?
Yeah, running the ball on 3rd and 6.
Yeah.
Stats show that
you have better options or better chances of making that play when your options are open on a pass.
It's just a low percentage.
Yeah.
And then the 4th and 3, I love the aggressiveness to go for it on the 11, the 4th and 3 call where we got stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back on it, it's easy to say, yeah, should have kicked the field goal and took the points. But the defense, man. The
defense breaks your heart every fucking year, man. It seems like every if they get if we're on defense and it's 3rd down, I'm sweating bullets. It doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 3. That's just the story of the Cowboys since the turn of the century. Is our defense efficiency on 3rd down is shit. We have terrible safeties. I think our corners aren't bad. We're gonna get Jordan Lewis back this year, so I love Diggs, Jordan Lewis, Anthony Brown. I know we re-signed him, and it's on a decent contract. It wasn't break the bank contract. And then, Chidobe Awuzie, he's a decent player. He's probably gonna be gone after this year because he's gonna be a free agent, but. Safeties I'm not too worried about. Corners I'm not too worried about. Safeties terrify me. And then LVE got hurt again, which I love the guy, but we drafted Sean Lee 2.0. Yeah. It's a great, talented. Sean Lee's more cerebral. He's obviously physically great. He's gifted physically, but he's the perfect brain when it comes to a linebacker, He can read that play, whereas Leighton Vander Esch, he's obviously smart as well, but he's just sideline to sideline speed.
He's a freak athlete.
He's a freak athlete. Yeah, he's the biggest, strongest guy on the field. But for some reason, and I understand it, dude. If that was me and my necks, you don't fuck with a neck injury like that. So it's
well, luckily it was a collarbone.
It's a collarbone that's dangerously close to your neck.
Yeah, and when they showed that shot and they were working his neck back and forth, I was like, here we go.
That's what I was thinking. I was
like,
it's a collarbone. I was like, okay, that's good, but and then Jalen. Well, I guess I mentioned earlier that was a terrible contract to give him. He's a good person with a good story, but he's not a good linebacker.
He just doesn't have it between the ears. I can't tell you how many times he was just late, and not even just late, clueless. I mean, unless he's running downhill at the quarterback, he
doesn't have a shot.
And he's taking weird angles. I guess in his mind, he still thinks he's Notre Dame Jalen, where he can take
Superman.
These weird routes around blocks and still catch a guy. And it's just not.
Yeah, but you're not playing Northwestern this week,
Yeah, he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have that sideline to sideline. Unless he's, like I said, head down north and south to the quarterback, he's just useless.
And they should make him more of a pass. I thought that's what they're going to do this year, is make him a more pass rusher, because he's not the kind of guy. He can't sit back in that box and wait for a play to develop and then make an open field tackle, because he'll get lost, and then it's up to our safeties, and our safeties suck. And that's why they're he'll get 12 tackles a game. Yeah, after an 8-yard gain, he'll tackle the guy. He's not making any tackles for losses. He's not making disruptive plays. He's not causing turnovers. He's making a tackle when the player already got the first down, and then he'll gang tackle him with 2 other people, and he'll get credit for a tackle.
So I think going into the, just early on right now, going into the draft next year, it's got to be
linebacker
and safety.
Yeah, first 2 picks. Because our offense is great. Unless something happens, I know we're going to have to retool the offensive line, but we got Biotish, who can fill in. Connor McGovern was an early pick last year. So we got guys to plug in on the line there, but our defense is a joke, man. We can't give up 60 to 70% third down conversion rate and get 1 to 0 turnovers a game and think we're going to win.
The bright spot was Alden Smith.
Oh,
and I'm astonished at the dude taking 5 years off, and he was the best player.
He was our best defensive player without a doubt. I couldn't even tell you who's the second closest besides him, because he was Might have been Everson Griffin. He looked good too.
Diggs looked good.
Yeah.
I know he had a couple balls caught on him, but
he was going. But he would at least turn, locate the ball, and put his hands up. That's
he
what
was
we
in
weren't
great
doing last
position.
years.
He was in great position.
Yeah.
All night.
And he's that close to making interceptions.
He's
He's gonna
had,
get some.
Yeah, he just had just some bad luck. I mean,
And
as far
LA's
as,
got great receivers. I mean, Woods, Cup. They traded Cooks, but it seemed like they had someone else. Higbee, I guess he wasn't on him that much, but that's a talented offense.
and there was a couple throws that Goff made that were just right there. But Diggs, he didn't look out of place. He never got beat.
No, Diggs is going to be – he's a baller for us for years to come.
But Darian Thompson has got to go. We got to do something. I'm not saying it's Earl
He's
Thomas.
a practice squad player, man. At best.
I'm not saying it's Earl Thomas, but we got to do something. Linebacker too. I know Clay Matthews is out there, but Clay Matthews is a little bit more of a pass rusher type. He's probably still got some tread left, but we got to do something. Yeah, Blake Jarwin went out. We lost him for the year.
I like the thought of Delaney Walker.
I don't know if you want to bring Delaney Walker, but
I wouldn't mind. I don't want Dalton Schultz. I saw some of those attempted catches, and those were just embarrassing.
Jason Witten is better than Dalton Schultz right now.
Oh, without a doubt.
I wonder what it would take to get that guy back.
I don't think he's coming back. I feel
that
like
was
he
a joke, but
yeah. Well, just because skill level, he's better than Schultz right now. But I think they want him to say like, "This is Dak's team," or "This is Jalen's team," or Tank's team. Bringing Witten in, even though he's a legend, his name's going to hang up there. On our stadium Ring of Honor and in the Hall of Fame. It's like he's like the old guard. We're trying to move in this new generation, and
I wonder what it would take now that Gronk is in Tampa Bay. I wish O.J. Howard wouldn't have played so well.
O.J. Howard, or they had Cameron
Brate
Brate look good. It's like they have 3 tight ends that are better than all of ours combined.
I wonder what it would take to get one of those guys out of there.
I'd say a 4th rounder for Howard, who's a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Because he really hasn't lived up to his potential. I remember his last game at Alabama, as that championship game. He went off for like 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and just skyrocketed his draft potential. And then you look at him, he has everything you would want: size, speed, catch. But you're right, like that was probably one of his best games of his career.
Because there's nothing at tight end. Dalton Schultz, Blake Bell. I mean, it's
the Belldozer.
It's not good.
We had one more. I just can't remember. Cause
Yeah,
we had 4 up until Jarwin got hurt.
I can't remember either.
There you go.
And I was excited for Jarwin.
Oh, I did too. He's explosive, man. He's that new generation of tight end where maybe I'm not gonna pancake this defensive end, but if I get in the open field, he's gonna he could have pre-injury. He can make people miss and he can outrun a lot of people. He reminded me of I know they're not the same level, but Kelsey and Kittle with that ability to catch and then had that speed because Witten can catch, but he ain't running outrunning anybody. Jarwin can make some linebackers miss, and he can outrun some corners, but he can run through them.
But where you miss Witten is on that 4th and 3 we went for it.
And goal line.
The reason why Lamb was short of the sticks is because they were saying that on the film, Schultz didn't take his man deep enough to allow Lamb to get in there at the stick. Where Jason Witten is going to know he's got to take his man so far to free up the space for Lamb to come underneath.
Going to me. He knows what the play entails, and my job is to free up that space for Lamb to catch it.
And Dalton Schultz,
he got hit immediately. They read that so
because Dalton Schultz didn't take his man deep enough, and it's stuff like that where you miss a veteran. So maybe a Delaney Walker could come in here. I think he's 31, 2, 3.
He was like 37.
He may be 36. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought I heard 36, 37 because I was like, damn, I didn't realize he's that old. But I guess he had
on a 1-year deal. I don't mind.
I would love to just call up Tampa Bay and say, what do you want for O.J. Howard?
I'm really interested. I don't know what it'd take. Fourth rounder sounds good to me.
He's probably in his 3rd, if not 4th year.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have to pick up an option, but which would pay him probably pretty nice as a first-round option. But
even Cameron Brate,
I would totally take either one of those two.
Yeah,
they don't need 3 tight ends. They can give one to us. Plus, we're gonna have all those compensatory picks.
Yeah.
Give him a 3 or give him a 4 that can turn into a 3 or whatever. It'll be worth it just because O.J. Howard's a deep threat at the tight end position. So,
yep. And I think Dak looked good. He did miss a couple throws. I'm gonna chalk that up to rust and no preseason. Week. But these Dak haters that want to come out and put that loss on Dak, I'm sorry. Like, going back to our last conversation, like, you forgot about the shit that was run through here all those years in between Aikman and Romo. That game just wasn't on him. The defense, like you talked about the third down conversions. On offense, we sucked on third downs. On defense, we sucked on third downs. Yep. Greg the Leg missed a 53-yarder badly. It wasn't good. I think they kind of overlooked the Rams. I thought they might have gone in thinking this was going to be a little easier game than what it was, which was, because they were a 7-9 team last year, but they don't have 7-9 talent.
And plus, we kicked the shit out of them last year late in the year. That was like our one game where we looked good through that stretch of misery in that second half. So they're probably thinking, we got their numbers. Let's go and, go into their new house and beat them like the Giants beat us in our new house. Got a little cocky, started.
But the goods for me were Zeke.
Zeke looked great. Except for that tattoo. That was fucking stupid.
Dude, that's going to look so awesome when he's like 40 and fat and it's all stretched out.
He's going to be fat a year after he retires.
He looked good. He looked thinner. And I will argue that play he scored on, I think it was a screen.
Where he had like 5 guys in front of him?
I don't think there's another running back in the NFL that could make that play. Because not only did he have the juke, he had the stop, the juke, but he also had the power
Saquon.
Maybe Saquon. I'm just saying that was a elite play.
It was special, yeah.
That was a special elite play. So the goods for me were Zeke and Alden Smith. And then CeeDee Lamb did look good.
Who I drafted in one of our leagues, and I think he's going to have some big games. I think our receiver core, for the most part, looked good when they were able to get the ball, in their hands. We didn't make any big plays, but, we weren't able to protect Dak as well as, Rams protected Goff. And they had a plan. They wanted to get the ball out quick.
Yeah.
Which that's what we need to be doing on some of these teams, especially when you got Aaron Donald against a undrafted right tackle. So I feel like they game plan better than we did. Which sucks because I thought McCarthy was all about analytics and studying every team for the past year, and he sold the Jones. I think he sold him a crock of shit when he said how he did all this research and he had a barn built so he could study analytics and study game film from every team.
Yeah, because if you did, you'd know that running the ball on 3rd and 6 doesn't give you the best odds.
And that pre-snap motion, opens up everything for your quarterback and shows him what the defense is
Well, it was pretty telling because Aaron Rodgers was on an interview with Pat McAfee on his show, and he said that he's embracing this offense because they're having a bunch of pre-snap motion, and he made the comment at the end. He said Mike didn't like a lot of motion, and when I heard that, I'm like, oh, no. And I'm like, did we get sold? Did we get took?
The Joneses got sold. That's what it was. He just had to impress 2 people.
I wonder,
Steven and Jerry.
I wonder how long it is before he takes that playbook out of Kellen's hands. Before he just can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Because Kellen, that was his.
It's a short leash.
That was his sell to the Joneses, or that's what maybe their hope was in him, is that he is kind of that change and that that hope for new and fresh and versus Jason Garrett. But
it seemed like that last year in the first 3 games. That seemed like Kellen Moore games because they were vastly different than what we had seen the last 8 years with Garrett. So I was hopeful for change, and then, obviously big old shit happened last year.
And I don't want to spend too much time on it, but that play at the end with Jalen Ramsey and the offensive pass interference, I just don't think you make that call at that time because it was a bunch of hand slapping. It was a bunch of hand fighting down the field, and then, in my opinion, Jalen Ramsey sold it.
Oh, it's not just your opinion. It's the opinion of most people that agree that he might have extended the arm, but, I don't think he, shoved off. I think Jalen then just flailed around like a fish out of water and sold it because he knew he got beat.
Yeah,
he knew he got beat a day after he just signed a $105 million contract on a play that would have essentially at least tied the game at worst, if not won the game for us. So what are you going to do? It's a smart move by Jalen. He's like, I'm fucking beat. All I could do now is sell this call and hope that they call offensive pass interference. And he got the call. And then they said, oh, that's a makeup call. Y'all shouldn't be crying because there was that hands to the face call against our
Alden
Goff.
Smith got him.
Yeah, but then I saw another one where the same shit happened. A screenshot of one of the Rams players doing the same shit to Dak. It's like you don't make makeup calls because then you're just making a terrible call to make up for a terrible call you didn't make.
That's right.
You know, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. There's no such thing as makeup calls because if you make one bad call, the worst thing to do is compound it by making a second call to justify that
the first bad call. Yeah.
So I was like, "Fuck you." I'm sure I pissed Claire off by waking up Elizabeth because I was screaming and so happy, right? Because I was like, worst case scenario, we're kicking a field goal, we'll go to overtime. And then it was a flag on the field, and I was like, fuck you. I was like just screaming. She didn't know what was going on. I was like, you don't get it. Bullshit call.
Get back in your room.
She's like, it's just a game. It's not just a game. It's kind of how it went down.
So the Cowboys end up losing week 1 to go to 0-1. Week 2, they've got the Falcons at home, where there will be at least 20,000 fans, which will be interesting to see if everybody can stay masked up. And
I hope they give like shots of the crowd. And did you see they sent out a memo to the coaches because they were saying how they weren't wearing theirs and all that, and they were saying you gotta enforce it. Yep. So people in the stands, they're gonna show people. They're gonna show people having conversations like shoulder to shoulder, probably sharing a beer.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to police it, but we got the Falcons coming to town who lost to Seattle in week 1. I like our chances. I don't know.
I'm afraid of that deep. I'm afraid of the Atlanta passing offense.
He threw for like 450.
Yeah, and he has 2 really good receivers, and then was it Russell Cage all of a sudden? It's like got 100 yards, and it's like, well, shit, now that's 3 guys we've got to worry about. And the corner situation's not bad, but if they go deep on us and it's up to a safety for help, we're done. So we're going to have to force the ball. Alden Smith and Griffin are going to have to rely on that pass rush to make him get the ball out. Going. Yeah, and Tank, exactly. So we're going to have to force him to get rid of the ball. We can't let them sit in the pocket because if they sit in the pocket, they got guys that will get open and will make big plays. So that's what worries me. But I think if I had to set the over-under, I could easily see it being like 55 to 60, combined points on that. Because I think it's going to be neither of our defenses are that great, so I think we're each going to put up some points. It's just like first one to 30, 35 is going to win.
I saw a lot of 35, 31s, 38, 35 predictions over the week.
I was going to say, I was thinking like if we were going to do a prediction, mine was going to be like 35 to probably 31, like you said.
Yeah. I think, before we started recording, you said it's just it's a pick 'em.
Pretty close.
It's close.
If this was a regular year with real home field advantage, it could have been where's the home team at, because that might be it. So, maybe it is us because we will have a little bit of a home field advantage with 20,000, but they're not going to be rowdy fans. They're fucking Dallas fans. They're Dallas fans who can afford to go to a game during a
and they're going to be the elite of the elite Dallas
that's what
fans.
I'm saying. Those they're not me and you that'd be like screaming the whole time.
Yeah.
They're going to be like people sipping martinis in a press bar or in
suites.
Yeah,
that's right.
Ain't going to be no home field advantage because they outpriced all the real fans.
Yeah, and that's
can't afford to go to a game.
That's another conversation for another time. But another couple games that I've found interesting was New England and Seattle.
I got a fun fact about that one too. I heard this is the first time in I think it was 64 weeks, which is like however what was that like 4-something years, that the New England Patriots are actually the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the first time, probably because Brady and Russell Wilson's coming in. Belichick said how he thinks he's the best player going right now, but I just heard that I was like, that's fucking wild. I know that's maybe not even the longest in the NFL history, but that's the first time since. Landry was a baby. My kid wasn't even born yet, and they were favored in every game since then. I think it might have just been regular season only. I don't know about playoffs, but that just blew me away, man. Like 4+ years, and they're just now going to be. And then they're saying I think next week's KC, and they'll probably be the underdog there too. But fuck them, cocksuckers.
I'm just interested to see this whole Cam Newton experiment because he looked good week 1. It looks like they schemed.
Yeah, because they're smart. They planned around.
Yeah,
they
schemed to his strengths.
Which is what a good coaching staff does.
That's right. There was a lot of designed runs, and he didn't look out of play. He looked like old Cam.
I saw too. They're saying like Cam and like those New England running backs like Sony Michel going to be good pickups because they think they're probably going to be maybe Baltimore, and then we'll be like the top rushing offenses.
Run
in the
heavy.
League. Yeah.
Yeah,
totally run heavy.
It'll be interesting, and then
which,
the
like
last,
you said, is smart. Play to your strengths.
That's right. The last one I want to talk about is Houston and Baltimore. You've got Deshaun Watson versus Lamar Jackson, two of the most exciting quarterbacks.
Explosive,
I mean,
yeah.
Lamar Jackson's must-see TV. Stop down, and
He's
there's
like
very few
Luka.
athletes. I mean, Mike Trout,
Luka,
LeBron, Luka,
Messi.
Messi.
Something
There's
shout
very
out.
few stop-down athletes, but I think
Adobin.
I think Lamar Jackson and Mahomes in the NFL are stop down, stop what you're doing, stop and watch, because I think it's just special what Lamar
Do
Jackson
they
can
play
do
it all this year? Have we looked at the schedule ahead of time
to see if Mahomes
in the regular season?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the
that
schedule.
would probably be the highest rated game of the year.
Yeah,
I would think. That'd be amazing.
but it's gonna be an interesting game to see if
what?
Houston can bounce back and Baltimore, and see what Lamar Jackson can do.
Is that a 3:30 game?
Don't know. I want to say it's a noon game. Cowboys
that
is a noon
sucks.
game.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not gonna be switching off the Cowboys that much.
New England, Seattle's a Sunday night game.
Yeah,
though.
that's the nightcap.
Yeah, it'll be a good night game.
That's their first game since that tragic Super Bowl. First game against each other.
Yeah,
It might be
I
because I
wanna
know they
say-
were hyping it up during last Sunday night. They were, the rematch or whatever. And it's
yeah.
like,
I want to say
even watching that now just breaks my heart. Not even as a Seattle fan, but it's like, why are you throwing it in that situation? You have someone who's literally called beast mode for this situation.
So. This is going to kind of lead into the next segment of what we're watching, but I told you this around this time of year I watched The League, which is a show about fantasy football. Well, in one of the later seasons, I think it may be season 7, their last season, the opening episode, it's one of the characters sitting on the beach with Marshawn Lynch, and they're talking back and forth, and one of the other characters asks for a beer. He goes, "Hey, toss me a beer," and Marshawn says, "Hey, just give it to me. I can run it over there." And Taco's like, "No, I can toss it." And he's like, Marshawn's like, "No, man, I'm right here. I could literally just fall and hand it to him." He's like, "No, I'll just throw it." He's like, "Come on, man, let me run it in." So they're making a joke about that whole Super Bowl. So,
Did you already watch that whole series again?
Yeah.
Damn. Burning through. You got really ready for this year.
Yeah. So, on that note, what are you watching?
Well, Tuesday nights, Claire teaches yoga at the yoga studio that she shares with her mosaic shop. So me and Elizabeth usually have our movie nights.
Uh-huh.
This week was Lilo and Stitch 2.
Ooh.
Stitch has a glitch.
Stitch glitch.
It was a pretty good sequel. We watched the first one like a week ago, and she's gotten to the point where she'll watch a whole movie with me,
Yeah.
And it was barely an hour. It was like an hour and 9 minutes. And she sat and watched the whole thing with me. I was invested. It's pretty adorable because Claire's class starts at like 7, but she has to go a little early at like 6:30. She gets up there, and me and Elizabeth will get the movie ready. I'll say, we're like all day we're talking about what movie we're gonna watch, and then we get I'll get like little snacks. I forgot what I had, but she had she loves mini M&Ms. She likes M&Ms, but she loves mini M&Ms.
Well, they're her size.
Yeah, she calls them baby M&Ms. Yeah. So I think it makes her just feel like a little bit bigger to have those in her hands. So we fill up her little, container of baby M&Ms, chocolate milk, and we're ready to go. We just sit there, and it's so adorable because I always sit with like a pillow in my lap just to rest, which is probably weird, but it's like a habit of mine. And she'll sit right next to me, and we'll share the pillow, and she'll get a blanket, and we'll put a blanket over us. And usually by the end of the movie, it's like getting close to 8 o'clock. She's like half asleep, so she's laying there, and she's just like asking me like things about the movie, and I'm just talking to her about it. And then shortly after that, we just put her in bed.
Living the good life.
Stitch has a glitch. Highly recommended. Almost all the characters came back. It was a good concept too. It wasn't like too cheesy. It was like nice, wholesome entertainment.
Right. Well, I mentioned that I finished up watching The League, which is an old show that was on FX about fantasy football, and then I started watching Community on Netflix.
Yeah, I never got into that, but I've always heard it has like a cult following.
Yeah,
it's like obviously really good.
It's got Joel McHale,
Danny Glover,
Chevy Chase. I forget the main girl's name.
What's that? Dr. Kim that had his own show after that.
Oh, Ken Jong.
Dr. Ken or something like that. Yeah.
But he's in there. It's pretty good. It's not like Parks and Rec good, but it's good. I'm probably halfway through the first season, but it's pretty good. It's not bad. And then I've been listening to a podcast called In the Red Clay, and it's about this dude named Billy Sunday Burt, and the story is told through his son, but it's all about the Dixie Mafia, like in Georgia, in the early 70s, and how about, his dad was a notorious, the dude was a cold-blooded murderer.
For the Dixie Mafia?
Yeah, he was like a hitman for the Dixie Mafia. He made a ton of money. He robbed banks. He robbed stores. He killed people. But he kind of had this. It's kind of weaving this story of like how he had a code of ethics and he had like this respect for like he didn't kill lawmen. Like
it's actually kind of respectable for a Dixie Mafia hitman.
Yeah, and they talk about a couple instances where somebody came to him and offered him just oodles of cash for knocking off like a sheriff or somebody from the GBI, which is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. He's like, no. And how he had almost as much, if not more, respect for the good lawmen than he did a fellow gangster mafia member. So it's really good if you're into that kind of stuff. And
that's on Spotify.
You can get on Spotify, you can get on Google Podcasts, iTunes, all that stuff. And then Ryan let me know that Cloud Kicker had a new album out.
Yeah, I think he sent me a link too to that.
Yeah, it's real good. It's heavy. It's instrumental.
Yeah.
It's good just to have kind of on in the background. So I'll probably listen to that. Finish listening to that tonight when I finish editing. Shout out Ryan. What about you? What have you been listening to?
I listened to a good episode of Creepy that I'll like to share. I won't give anything away. It's just called, if anyone's into like creepy stories or anything like that, it's just people like fans who write their own stories. It's called The Seer of Possibilities. So if you're into that, musically though, Mogwai is probably my favorite band. Like the last 10 or 15 years, like Claire got me into them when we started dating. So just a lot of Mogwai, and I don't know if you've ever heard them, but they're pretty much all instrumental too, and they can get really heavy. I think that's the band we've seen more than anybody. We've seen them like at least 4 times. They always come to Granada off Greenville Avenue.
That's a cool venue.
Loudest fucking show I've ever been to. I've been to obviously a lot of shows. I was into all the heavier stuff back in the day, like metal and hardcore scene. But listening to Mogwai is the only show I've ever left where our ears were ringing and I couldn't hear for almost 2. Like I could hear,
you're like,
but
what?
It was muffled. Yeah, for like 2 days. To where I was thinking, like, do I need to go to a doctor for this? Like, you've heard stories about that, like shows, but just the loudest band. But Hardcore Will Never Die, But You Will. Probably my favorite album of theirs. We got to see that show. We got to see their show for The Hawk is Howling. And those guys been together since 1997, which is really cool because they now have their own label, but they put out 9 studio albums, 4 compilations, and 4 soundtracks. I mean, the guys just get together and jam. They're a group of like 5 guys from Scotland that just started in one of their guys' living room.
Coming up on 30 years here before we know it.
Yeah, they just had their 25 year because they formed in 96, but so there's 21 coming up, and they put out their first album in 97. And it's one of those bands where it's like all the songs are good, and then some of them are just great. But when I put on a Mogwai album, I really just don't skip at all.
Yeah.
I'll just listen to it, and then when a song that I really like, I'll turn it up a little bit louder, and the next song comes on. I'm still jamming to it. I don't skip it. And I could just listen to those 2 albums. I listened to Hardcore Will Never Die, But You Will, and then The Hawk is Howling just back to back yesterday. And then Stars Clenched, The West, so I've just been blasting Pantera. Yeah. I probably played an hour of Pantera today just to get me hyped up. And then same thing tomorrow. We actually have a babysitter. My mom's going to watch Elizabeth tomorrow. And I told Claire we just got to be home by 6:30. We'll blast Pantera the whole way home. We're going to do that. And then probably either play games. Claire got I got her into Texas Hold'em, which is cool because we'll play that. Because we played Skip-Bo every fucking time, which Skip-Bo's a fun game. It's also called Spite and Malice. If you're not playing the kids version with like colored cards, you can play with your regular deck called Spite and Malice, and it's a fun game. But not every week. Yeah, like because we would have like game nights, me and her, and then I think her sister and my brother-in-law come over Sunday because we're gonna make that pot roast for the game. After the game, they can come over, and I guarantee you we're gonna play that, and we'll play other games too. But every motherfucking time we gotta play that, and I'm okay with that because I can beat them most of the time. But I can't stand it every time. So I got her into Texas Hold'em, which is really cool because she really likes it. And we have the chips, and we'll like make legit, like we'll like make big bets, and then
probably watch a movie after that because we're gonna go hard tomorrow, dude. No kid, Cowboys don't play until noon. We're gonna put that shit in the oven, slow cooking all night. Or, I'm sorry, in the crock pot, slow cooking all night. When I told my mom, like, yeah, I'll pick her up before noon. I was like, that's the best I'll tell you because I'll be home to watch the game. And then we saw a couple previews on Netflix, so we'll probably watch a movie and I'll be able to review those for you later. But just a
enjoy
good time.
It.
Yeah, just
enjoy it.
A night without. Don't get me wrong. Elizabeth is my favorite person who's not potty trained in the world of all time. I mean, she's the coolest, but it's like I told Claire, I was like, when's the last time it was just like me and you for a night together? Because Kim and Dakota, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, wanted to come over, which is cool. But I was like, I think it's just gonna be us on Saturday. Y'all can come over Sunday night, and I don't think we've had a night with just us in probably 3 or 4 months. It's like a quarterly thing. I get my mom to watch her like once every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, I don't remember last time me and Lauren had
just
a night.
You two.
Yeah, I don't remember because we always have Landry, and I never wanted to be those parents that was like always pawning their kid off. Like
yeah, that's
weekend.
why
I never wanted to.
I'll ask them like, it's probably been about 3 months. My sister's the complete opposite way because I asked my mom and she was like, yeah, that's okay, but because I have a niece that's 6 months older than my daughter, and she's like, but Harper's gonna be here, and I'm like, oh, well, that's okay, we can wait. And she's like, no, it's okay. She's like, I had Harper last weekend. I'm gonna have her again coming up. She's like, it's okay, you can bring her over. And I'm like, is Alicia just taking advantage of you? I was like, am I missing out on some kind of service here? Because I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't want to be a burden because, it's my kid. Obviously, I'll keep her all the time, but y'all got to take a vacation, which is nice. I'm not saying that's the same thing, but if I could just get a vacation or if I can get a night with, because it's just nice to sit back and play. Because we have a sound. We'll play music all night. We're going to be blasting music. We're going to be drinking. We're going to be having a good time. Just us.
Man, I may pop in. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Landry's coming over too.
We just wanted it we wanted Landry's relationship with his grandparents to be on their terms.
Yeah.
So when they did have that time, it was enjoyable, and it didn't feel like a responsibility because obviously it's our responsibility. But yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, we did have vacation, but I realized vacation as an adult, with family, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of money too.
It's a lot of work.
I don't even know what you spent, but I guarantee you, last time we went somewhere, just with the house and the food and the activity, I was at like $700.
I'm not
for like 3 days.
I'm not so much worried about the money because you can always make more, but it's it's watching them in the pool, and then it's a lot lot of work. As a kid, you can enjoy it more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because it's carefree. You're in some new place,
but that's what it's about. It's for them.
It's about them now.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's for
that's
them.
what I get now. It's like whatever I got to do, whatever I got to pay, as long as she's happy at the end of the day, I'm good.
Yeah, so
it's like when people are like, "What do you want for your birthday?" I don't need anything. You get me a gift card to Toys R Us, and so I can take my kid.
Dude, give me some underwear. I used to be bummed about that gift on Christmas.
No way,
dude. Give me some new underwear or socks.
Claire forbids me to get new underwear and socks because I treat myself every chance I get. If I see a new pair of socks, dude, I'm a Hanes man through and through. I don't know about you, but Hanes underwear and Hanes socks, I'll buy it all up. I have drawers full. I have to donate, which I don't donate underwear because that's weird, but I'll donate my old socks.
I'm not picky on socks, but I found these new Fruit of the Loom, and they're made of I don't know what to call them, but it's this lightweight material, and
you got to let the boys breathe.
I don't sweat near as much in these bad boys as I do anything, but they're made by Fruit of the Loom. But they're $16 for a 4-pack.
Yeah,
or something.
I think I spent $20 on a 4-pack. But
or they may be more than that.
I don't know about you. As soon as I get home, I'm dropping trout, I'm putting those new ones on, and I'm walking around like a boss in my underwear.
Yeah, so
house.
Underwear, socks, I'm all about it. But with that, I think that does it for us this week.
That's how we're gonna.
That's how we're gonna end it on Undie Talk.
All right.
But before we let y'all go, like I mentioned, we want to thank everybody for listening. We celebrated our first 100 downloads. And we're going to work toward the next 100 and the next 100. But if you could, again, rate and review us on iTunes. Leave a rating and review. That'll really help us out. If you have any questions, reach out to us at thedadlabpod@gmail.com. And, we're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and iTunes, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
And I just want to mention, Troy, we got your comment. Matt looked, and we're pretty sure, not sure of the years, but some of the years of Shattered Dreams are on YouTube. So we're going to try to watch them, at least the years if we can find ours. And we'll give you that very cringy update of how that all went down.
Yeah, Troy, we appreciate the comment and the review, and I did look, and I think they had 2001, 05, 06, and 07 up on YouTube. I can't remember the exact years, but
I still have my VHS. If we can find a VHS player, I actually still have mine.
Well, we have them on YouTube. I know for sure. We just got to find out the years, but we did get that feedback, and we'll watch it. We'll suffer through it at some point and get you a review going. But that about does it. We appreciate you listening. For Matt
and Andrew,
we're out.